This episode of An Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Heather Garrett. Thank you.
Man, this Dr. Bean coffee smells so delicious.
Hey, don't forget the sniffing.
Yeah, definitely. I can't explain it but it has been doing wonders for my voice lately.
What do you mean?
Watch.
We're coming to you from the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
What the heck? Give me that. Let me try it.
It might not, well... Okay.
Hello, friends, and welcome to An Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez.
I guess it doesn't have the same effect on, like, everyone, maybe?
Yeah, I guess not.
It's worth a shot, though, anyway, I guess. So get on over to drbeancoffeecompany.com, get yourself some delicious brew, and see what it can do for you.
Dr. Bean Coffee Company does not guarantee to change the timbre, tone, or inflection of your voice. It also does not guarantee to increase the quality of your podcast, as evidenced in this and previous episodes. Any and all correlation between the sultry tones and our coffee drinking is purely coincidental, and while Dr. Bean Coffee Company would be thrilled to claim responsibility, we unfortunately cannot. Listener discretion advised.
Hello, friends, and welcome to An Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Sticklebath McGee.
And we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
You know, I've heard that's what they're saying. They say you sing it too much. This week we're telling riddles in the day.
Okay.
In a rare, it's not really midday anymore, but early evening recording of Chapter 5, Riddles in the Dark.
Yeah, I just
you
want
read
to
all
make a
that?
quick little. Yeah, well, no, I can't. That's my thing is if we're reversing roles, I don't know what I would have gotten day right. Rare might have been rar, like that would have been a situation. But, anyways, we've got a special guest, the man with the golden voice, the master of MREs.
Patented?
Okay, that's the word. Creator of the Dave Wave, the man with a contingency plan. He's even floating on the bridge as a space
Naval
officer. Something
like that.
Yeah, his name. Davy Jones Fogle. Welcome, Dave.
What's up, guys? Been a long time.
It has been a long time.
Wow, we throw that. Yeah, I mean that was a mouthful for me.
That was.
Yeah.
Was that a decent introduction?
Did we cover
Have you had
everything?
better? Have you had worse?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
No,
I
yeah.
really thought so.
Yeah.
A mouthful. I'm about to have a mouthful in a little bit. Guys, if you're watching the video edition, Dave has brought me my very first MRE. I can't stop holding it and touching it. It's like a sensory thing. I'm not really sure why, but I'm very, very excited to go in the dark and eat that by myself.
Jeez.
It'll be a riddle for sure.
My precious.
My precious. Where is it? Hopefully I won't come out looking like a goblin, but, you know, maybe.
Well,
maybe. Just depends.
It's not that old.
We have had so much fun talking before this episode that I'm not sure we have much left.
I actually forgot what chapter we were on. So you said, "Oh yeah, Riddles in the Dark." That's right. Okay.
What book are we on again?
Yeah, we've been all over the place.
Yeah.
Because we have. Dave's in a lot of different fandoms. I'm in a lot of different fandoms. We've been talking about that.
Easy to
been
get
talking
confused.
about like catching up on. I said it felt like Christmas. You know,
Honestly,
we're getting there.
So you finally know what it feels like for when you come over here. It's always gifts, things to try. Like we're surrounded by coffees to try.
Yeah.
Like legit, we've got some freeze-dried Turkish delight that we're gonna do for a Narnia further up / Dave's 45 Auto collaboration. We've got pipe weed that Dave has brought out to smoke around the fire. I mean, it's like Christmas. It really is like Christmas, and it's good seeing you, man. It's been a long time. I mean, you know, we haven't really seen much of anybody with what's going on, so it's good to be with you.
Yeah, I want to say the last time I was down, we were doing some work in the studio. No,
It was.
I
It
think,
was some
'cause
Holy
it was,
smokes,
well,
was
it
that
was
the last time?
post party, probably November.
Probably
Would have
about
been
this
the
time.
last time.
And it's your
I
birthday
ever came
tomorrow.
down.
And I think I remember us having worked around your birthday.
I think so,
honestly.
yeah.
Wow.
Maybe even
The
on your birthday.
The 1 year anniversary of the last time I came down to
That
Amanda.
is crazy, isn't it? Let that blow your mind for a
That's
second.
wild. That is wild. I actually that doesn't.
That's how long this stuff has kind of been going on, man.
Well, I mean, it's not
That's
the last
crazy.
time we talked. It's just the
No,
last
yeah.
time
Yeah.
I've been down here. You know,
And I've seen a lot of your hands on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. A lot of waving.
A lot of
Yeah.
waving, a lot of opening, a lot of tossing onto the table.
Yeah,
But yes,
just
that's
smack
right.
it down on the table.
You feel it, isn't it sort of?
It is something that you kind of just want to like touch
know,
and feel,
dude.
and it's got
There is
texture.
food in that
and you just
bag,
got
man.
Kinda, I don't
Well,
know.
You know that's honestly when I first started the YouTube channel doing these. There were people that would ask, "It's like, do you ever just like go online and look and see what's in them?" It's like, no, because they're little food presents.
They are food,
I
yes.
genuinely like being surprised, but I am one of the hardest people to surprise. Because hey, it's like my parents. What do you want for Christmas? I don't really want anything.
Yeah.
But if you can surprise me, it's the greatest thing ever. So these little things they're great because you never know exactly what's going to be in there.
So, and I wanted to talk about this. This is perfect. We're into quick counsel. So, if you don't know, go check out Dave's YouTube video, Dave's 45 Auto.
Yep, one word.
Dave's 45 Auto. You think I'd remember? I've typed it in enough times on YouTube. The thing that you started off doing different reviews, mostly of MREs, right? Meals ready to eat. Yep. You've also done some firearm reviews. You've also done some camping, backpacking, hiking equipment as well, outdoor stuff. And the thing that I love is recently you've gotten into Monday morning coffee, Wednesday heat check. So reviewing different coffees on Monday, reviewing different hot sauces on Wednesdays. Yep. Still doing the MREs, but getting into there's even subscription boxes you started to review. Like you are putting out content like a madman.
Yeah.
And it's not the only thing you're doing. I mean, you're also you got Contingency Plan, the podcast, which is all about Star Wars.
Potentially another one in the works.
Oh, there you go. You've been hanging out with our buddy Chase McKinney on his These Are the Voyages podcast as well, and his friend Eric. There you go. So. But anyway, I love all the different things that you've been reviewing. I love getting your reactions. I love just seeing what you find. It's awesome. Oh, midweek snack too. I forgot about midweek snack.
It's been a very
It sounds hobbity. It
is. Honestly, it is.
It's been a very boring stretch of time. So yeah, doing the 5 day a week. So yeah, Monday morning coffee. Midweek snack is Tuesday and Thursday.
Yep, there you go.
Heat check for hot sauces is Wednesday, and then the whatever ration based thing drops on Friday. So I even got my brother in on one of the hot sauce ones. I don't know if I've posted that one or not, but that was fun.
I've seen it. So yes, you have,
because he's always been a hot food person.
Darth Austin himself. Yeah, it's cool. I actually, for the longest time, I would listen to your podcast and I had no idea what he looked like. And then finally to see him, I'm like, wow, that's so, like, you know, when you hear someone's voice and you imagine what they look like, it's so weird how, like, you know, especially radio growing up, you'd hear these personalities, you'd be like, I have a picture of them in my head. And then you see him and it almost never matches like what you envisioned, right?
You should have seen him with hair.
I would love to have. Well, I mean, I know what that's like now. I would love to have seen him with hair. I'm sure you could pull up some pictures for us.
Oh,
maybe.
It's
funny.
He had the longest, curliest hair.
Did he really?
It was great.
Little Numenorian, huh?
Man, that is crazy.
Wow.
See, I don't even remember. Like, that is... Because how much younger is it? You said 7?
7 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my older sister's, I think, 10 or 12 years older than I am.
Yeah.
Younger brother.
Wow.
7.
That's a spread, man. And tomorrow you are turning 33.
Yeah.
The year of well, I mean that's kind of a big year, you know. 33 is just you're no longer. I mean, you're moving into the mid 30s, man. You're moving into the mid 30s. It was a big year for Jesus, so I think it's going to be a big year for you. I think that it's the beginning of your ascendancy. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, if you're, you know. Am I going too far? Can you edit that part out? Just
no.
I mean, it is Friday the 13th.
Cheesy cow.
Plague year. Oh my God, you're right.
Oh my gosh.
Great Scott, you're right.
We need to watch this next year. Be careful. And you're heading into 33 too, my friend.
Yeah, I'm
and I'm
worried.
right. I'm going to be watching both of you thinking, do I want to turn another year older?
What if it's
this
like-
young whippersnapper
Yeah, I know,
over here
I
doesn't
know.
know anything about getting old yet?
No, he doesn't know. Yeah. Well, I am. You know, it is the year of Christ, right? So I
That
mean,
is,
it's
man.
like his.
I
big
know.
year.
33 is the big year.
Is that a good thing?
is a
Or,
big
I mean,
year.
it should be a good thing for us, right?
I hope so.
I think so. I think it's
we
going to be
could all use a turn.
Up-
We could all use a turn of
Yeah.
luck, a turn of just.
a year of prominence, I think,
Yeah.
is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, anyway, happy early birthday to you, my man.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. This is going to be an awesome, awesome episode. This is one of the most classic chapters in all of Middle Earth. Probably, I would say, one of the most memorable in terms of The Hobbit. You know, this is the one that everyone thinks about, or one of the top 2 or 3 anyway. It's the acquisition of the ring. It's the confrontation with Gollum. It's even a chapter that Tolkien, once he developed more of Middle Earth, came back to and revised and heavily edited so that it fit in with the way he developed the ring and Sauron and how Lord of the Rings was starting to go. So there's a lot of things to talk about. But how are you doing, Ez? You doing all right?
This guy
Yeah.
over here, I'm actually a little bit perturbed about something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a bat.
not just this fly.
Okay.
There is a fly that's flying around,
All right,
and
let's-
if you are watching, by the way, on
You're
Patreon,
going to
you'll
be able to see it, actually.
Yeah, it's landing on my head numerous times, and it's frustrating me, but it's okay. Why have we? I have not got a chance to smell any of those.
Oh, the tobacco.
None of those tobaccos have made
He's
their
gonna
way
go-
over here.
You know what? He's going to go for that one just because of the name.
Scottish
100%.
mix. Scottish mix. Is that fly back on me? Did you guys see that?
It's going to be bad.
What's happening right here?
bad
Keep an eye
PR.
on the spot right
It's
here.
gonna be bad PR. They're going to make memes.
Oh no, Dave, the group. Don't let
Make sure they
anybody.
don't show up in the group, Dave.
Doggone it.
One
okay.
fly to rule them all.
Oh no.
Fly, you
One
fools.
fly to bind them.
It almost flew in my mouth just there. Oh, my God.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy. But anyways, sorry. We had this, like I said, it's Christmas, and these are. I love smelling these.
Oh, I do
I
too.
really love smelling. I want to smell all of them. So we don't forget the sniffing on this podcast. and it's
Sometimes
just
I get like nauseous just smelling them.
Yeah.
They're
Is that crazy?
so
They're
good.
strong. Like
They're so
pipe
good.
weed
They're
is
strong.
strong, man.
Well, I mean, so much with like this and cigar smoking for me is about the aromatic quality of it. I'm not sitting here and like just pumping my lungs full of stuff because that's not really the great thing to do. But I like the smell and the taste.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So-
Yep.
Wow, that's good. That is
Just
some
let it
good
linger
stuff.
in your mouth a little bit.
All right, and I'm actually
get a taste of it.
I'm glad
Which
that
one
worked
did
out
you
that way
like
because
best?
I didn't get a chance to smell any of these until right now. So that is delicious. Thank you very much.
If you had to pick one, what are you going to smoke?
Well,
Your pipe is still here, by the way.
yeah, I would just smoke the Scottish. You know, mix. There's no reason not to. You know, so
No reason not to.
That's
High
what I
praise.
would do. Yeah.
I smoked it because there was no reason not to.
right, right. And that's why we do everything.
Scotland.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's in the name.
Well, he wasn't able to go on his trip.
That's true.
All
So he'll
right.
take his trip.
Yeah.
So
This is that
let's
kind of
just
weed,
give
right?
him a little bit of a trip.
Thank you.
To
Yeah, give me a little bit of a
This
trip.
does
Yeah.
take you on a trip, right? Is that the kind of weed we're talking?
Well, I mean, for
What were
legality
hobbits?
purposes, I'm going to go ahead and plead the fifth real
We're
quick.
hobbits smoking. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not gonna say.
Well, this is awesome. This is awesome having Dave here. You're
Yeah.
doing well.
I'm doing well. I'm
Good,
doing well.
my
This is
man.
cool. I'm happy to have Dave here too. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
it's a
blast.
good chapter, and really, it is nice to it's nice to catch up, sit down. We're actually, Lane said earlier, ironically,
You guys look great, by the way. It looks like you're speaking out of the same microphone, just
That's
floating
awesome.
in midair.
Really? Is that- that's-
it, honestly,
that's
let me
actually
move
cool.
yours just a little bit.
That's good. Yeah, there
It
you go.
literally looks like the same floating mic.
That's awesome.
That's nice.
There we go. Well, hey, this guy sets up the shot over here. Okay, he knows how to do it. All right. I'm talking about
Thanks,
Lane,
babe.
not myself.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know
All
if
right.
it.
Well, I just,
Where's the finger?
I
Where's your finger?
gestured
When-
over here?
when one.
So,
Hey, ooh,
there we go.
I can't reach your shot.
Don't even touch. There we go.
reach.
All right. No. So, but yeah, it's good to have everybody here and just to be. I don't know. It's weird. We're living in a weird time. So,
Yeah, we were
you know,
having a little
it's-
conversation about like potentially doing this on Zoom, and
Yeah.
we're all we checked ourselves before, and it's just I don't
Yeah.
know. You have to have some sense of normalcy. I think like you
Yeah.
really do. Like I don't know. Like, and I don't. The Zoom thing is fine. Like when we do YouTube videos
Yeah,
and
just
reactions
little
and
things,
stuff. But when we
yeah.
record, I really love like being in person because there's there's a pacing, there's a flow of conversation.
Yeah, man.
You get feel the MRE in your hand.
Like this to me is like a teddy bear that I want to just like
Dude,
hold for comfort, man.
Well,
like,
there's a couple things about that make a lot of sense just from like my very basic understanding of human psychology, and it relates to some of the chapter, and it also relates to MREs, and it's just creature comfort.
Yeah.
You want to be able to have those simple creature comforts. This is why, like in a military ration, you find M&Ms. It's why when Frodo and Gollum are going against each other in the Battle of the Riddles, they're thinking of home. They're thinking of experiences that they've had in the past that can help them along their way. So, just being in the presence of people is a great thing because I mean. I don't know about you guys, but I've been pretty much at home, very basic, going out as little as I can. Obviously checking up on the family, seeing the family. But it's just difficult to get into the actual swing of things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going out. Like, I mean, I come down here once every other week or whatever, and then every fortnight. And outside of that, it's like I go to my job, I come home. I literally have only, even going to like my aunts and stuff. Like, we did one thing where it was like everyone was super far away because she, I don't know, people feel different ways.
Like for me, anyway,
you want to be safe. I mean, I don't think there are very many people out there who, don't want their loved ones or even themselves to be safe.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's the biggest thing is just want to make sure that other people, like you hear these stories of people unknowingly getting other people sick, and you just don't want to. You're worried about other people, and that's like the whole So,
well, we also don't live in the same town either, so we can't just like shout across the street and shit. We actually
we do have to.
We got to
get
travel
together.
a bit.
We got to drive. Yeah, we got to get on the road.
I could get maybe a carrier pigeon or something like that.
What has
like
happened
a
to
Falcon
this?
or
One of
something?
these phones, even
Oh God, oh Lord.
Oh, dude.
We don't call each other.
Update on this phone though. I'm loving the Switch. I want to get back to like not seeing anybody and how hard life is, but just 1 second. Like I am sleeping better. That guys, like seriously, you don't realize how much your smartphone keeps you awake.
Yeah,
you're either searching for stuff to buy, or you're on Instagram or Facebook, or checking your emails for no reason, or checking the update on the status of the package of what you ordered that hasn't changed and isn't going to change, and it'll show up when it's going to show up. I'm falling asleep like 3 times every night. I think it's all this sleep debt that's built up, and I want to I need to tell Calais. Because Calais was, he reached out to me about, I can't remember, like maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was talking about my trouble getting to sleep, how I've always had that trouble. Yeah. And I think one of the things that's enabled that or disabled it, I guess, as an adult is my phone. Just, even if it's good stuff, like I'm going to check on the Instagram and see what's going on with the podcast, or I'm going to go look up something from Tolkien. Like last night, instead of I still didn't fall asleep right away, but being up, I got a headlamp so that I can read in bed, flip that on, and I was reading the Silmarillion.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Instead of being on my phone.
Yeah.
And when I did go to sleep, even though it was less sleep, it was better, and it was solid. And so anyway, I'm loving it, man.
Awesome.
I'm loving that.
That's really good.
But I hear you on obviously not seeing anybody, like even at work. Sarah and I are teaching online, so we don't see other teachers. We see other kids like once or twice a day. Yeah. It's very isolating. Like teaching a class online where you're looking around to see if like kids are watching or responding.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. It's weird. It's weird times. So it's nice to be together.
I couldn't imagine like trying to teach someone because like, I have a team of, 18, 20 people. And I have like at least once a day a video conference with everybody. And I get super irritated when people like aren't on there promptly, or they don't,
or they turn their camera off.
Turn the camera off.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to treat everybody, like they want to be treated, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, as difficult as it is for me sometimes to just like make the connection with people that we're not in the office anymore, with like kids, because you do what? You do like an early grade,
second
right?
grade, yeah.
Yeah,
Sarah
I couldn't even
first and second
imagine
grade.
that.
Yeah, the whole instructional piece is way out of whack. It takes forever to do anything. Yeah. We're doing 5 Zooms a day, for like half an hour each. We're actually going over like what was recommended for minutes, just because we feel like we have to sometimes. Yeah. I've started going to, and then there's technology issues. I've started doing a lot of, or a few lessons. My math every day, I'm doing remote. So I'm pre-recording the lesson and posting a Loom video because
yeah.
when I share the screen, a lot of kids are having lagging issues. So they're not even able to hear me correctly.
Yeah.
So imagine that. And they're second graders.
Right.
They're second graders going to school
Right.
like online. And a change that happened over the course of 6 months. You know what I mean? So it's maybe that's another reason I'm sleeping so well is it's exhausting. But
adults have the same issue. I mean, I have one who her internet lags so bad that sometimes when she goes to talk, it does that.
Like the cyber voice or whatever. Yeah.
And then I have another guy who
That was
almost every day is like, so have you changed the battery in that fire?
The
detector?
beep. I know. I've noticed that too.
He doesn't hear it.
Oh my gosh,
he doesn't
is that
hear
what it is?
So I have to always make sure to mute him, or I'm going to hear that little
beep. I've heard that in like 3 or 4
Yeah.
different homes. I'm like, man, this must be a common thing.
We have people with birds. There was one
Oh,
person
wow.
during a
pet
large,
birds?
large scale town hall, and they forgot to mute themselves and like stepped away, and all you heard was tweet, 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 quack, quack,
Wow.
quack. You know, just the whole thing. So, and then like parents yelling at their kids. Like there was one
Yeah.
sweetest middle-aged lady, but
Yeah.
sweetest. And then just all of a sudden, her kid must have done something real bad. She gets that big mom voice
Mom
on.
voice.
Whoa.
It's like, "Will you
Yeah, dude. It is. Some things are better done in person. Like there's a reason we go to work and we don't necessarily do it at home, all of us. And so there's definitely that. But all that being said, it's nice to be here in person together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a rush. If I'm like mumbling or stuttering over my words, it's because it just feels good. It feels great.
No, I'm with you, man. Yep.
Amazon show news. Would you like to, there's been a lot of change since we last had your opinion on the show. So now we know it's in the second age. We've had a whole slew of actors and actresses released. We're starting to get via social media from J.A. Bayona and some of the actors and actresses hints as to maybe what they're doing now that they're back in New Zealand. It's being filmed in New Zealand. I think before when we talked, Scotland was still a possibility maybe. So what are you hoping for? What would you like to see? How do you think they're going to handle the second age? What do you think, Dave?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, there's an interesting shift in media right now where everything, I won't say everything, but okay, AMC theaters are probably, there's a good possibility that we might not go back to an AMC theater ever
That's
again.
sad.
I mean, we always went to whatever ones Marcus or whatever they were called.
Marcus.
But anyway, there's a potential
in Lancaster, we have an AMC. That's what it is. Yeah.
You might not see those again.
Yeah.
And then on the countering side, because whenever it's equal opposite reaction stuff here. On the opposite side, you have these massive budgets being given to shows like, well, The Mandalorian was $100 million for their first season. I'm trying to think of some of the other recent ones, but I'm just drawing
The ones that
a
are
blank.
coming out too. Like you're talking about like the ones that
Well,
bigger budgets,
yeah,
like Wheel of
I'm-
Time and Lord of the Rings. And,
But anyway, obviously, Wheel in Time. That was the other one I was going to think about.
Massive.
But I think what I'm hoping for is what I've been getting from Mandalorian. Okay, so I like episodic, released every week shows.
Yep, we've talked about that too. Yeah.
That, and I think it's a little bit different with this because what works for Mandalorian, I don't think is necessarily going to work with this. I think it'll be a lot more overarching theme. Have you heard anything about the length of episodes yet?
Well, there was that rumor a while ago that there were going to be like 22 episodes in a season. And we figured if there were that many, it's not. There's I think that was just false information. We've guessed like in the ballpark of 8 to 10. What's typical for a high quality show now? But no, I mean, I would guess too though with we've been talking about this. Like, what is it going to look like?
Yeah.
How are we going to cover 3,500 years? How are we going to do that? What are the highlights within those 3,500 years? Ez can show you. I mean, I can show you. I've gotten the timeline out of the second age, and I've started marking like what is of high importance, what you could pull out from certain, even like 500-year spans to hyper focus on that would tie different. So I'm guessing like if I had to put money on it, 8 to 10 episodes, hour each. I think an hour-long episodes would be enough to toggle between different characters, storylines, but not feel like, it's not enough.
Well,
you know,
the way I was thinking is you Sherlock it.
Oh, okay. So
you
like
do
mini movies.
Hour and a half.
Movie length. Yeah.
Yeah, hour and a half.
5 or 6 episodes.
Big budget.
Yeah. Sherlock's only 3 episodes a season.
I know.
Yeah.
But again, with them, it's just like this is a story, you know, Scandal Batavia or something like that.
Yeah.
So, if it were me, because of how epic Lord of the Rings was, and The Hobbit, and The Hobbit, and The Hobbit.
He said it. Wow. He's right.
I like The Hobbit. It just is what it is. I understand the
because it was real, Dave. Because it was real.
Listen,
I'm sorry. I'm joking.
No. I do. I like it though, and I understand the criticisms of it,
and
it's completely valid. Yeah. But I still like the story and I like the actors. But I think because of how epic you made those, you almost have to make this as epic as possible. And the only way that I have seen right now in history to make it something that epic is to do those hour and a half, almost Sherlock chapter. Yeah, this is like chapter 1, the story of Bloop, and then this is chapter 2, story of Bloop.
I honestly hadn't even thought of that format. And I love Sherlock is one of my favorite shows of all time.
Except the ending.
That last season was bullcrap. Season 4, if you're out there and you're yelling at me, that's fine. We can disagree. That season 4 was garbage. Anyway, but the first 3 seasons and most of the second half or the first half of season 3, great. Awesome. It's Martin Freeman. It's Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, it's literally Smaug and Bilbo going at it
great.
Before they were either of those. But I hadn't thought of that format. That's something that could definitely work. Like you said, the grand scale. You almost wish that you could do movies, but there's so much material to get through that it would. I think the adaptation. I think they've kind of learned I don't want to say learned a lesson from the Hobbit films, but maybe seen that it's time for the Lord of the Rings to live in a different medium, a different format.
Tom Bombadil, Bjorn.
Okay.
I'm just saying were they in any movies? No. Should they have been in the movies? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Bjorn was. He was in the Hobbit.
But the extended edition, and it wasn't as long. Yeah, he was cut out.
But I mean, the thing is he had a much bigger role.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. In the books.
I mean, Tom. You know, he's kind of silly.
I know.
But I like Tom, and I think it would have been
a big deal.
The whole shot. I mean, I could think of the shot. I have a very vivid imagination. I always have. It's the reason why I asked to do this chapter, because it's the only one that I remember from when my mom read it to me, because it was so vividly scary to me at the time.
Yeah.
The Barrow Downs.
Yes.
I mean, that to me is such like a vivid thought in my head that would have been great in film, but you have to cut stuff down.
Yeah.
So again, the only reason I'm thinking is this. I mean, my goodness, it's a Star Wars thing to not give detail. Lord of the Rings is different.
Yeah.
It gives you all the detail.
Yeah. Yes. And so to pay homage to that, and also like the showrunners being such big Tolkien fans, hardcore, like the books were inspiration to them. They were fans of the stories before they even would have seen the films, you know, as kids. They grew up with it. And then also the involvement of Tom Shippey. So we don't know exactly what has happened there. There have been all these rumors flying that he got fired and Corey Olsen may have fired him, or maybe Amazon Prime.
I heard Lane fired him. I don't know.
I thought it was you, bro.
I thought it was you.
But you know, so wanting to stay true, and that was part of the Tolkien Estate's deal, was we want you to stay true to the story, but there is a lot of wiggle room in the Second Age, and so how do you navigate that? So I'm liking that idea of almost these like a season full of movies. And honestly, so J.A. Bayona was signed on originally to the first 2 episodes, and now he's back for more. Like the first 2 have been filmed. So originally that was his deal. But they're back filming again. So presumably on episodes 3, 4, right? And man, it was like maybe not even a month ago that he posted in his story, he said, halfway through my time in Middle-earth. And I'm like, all right, so if episodes 1 and 2 are in the can, which was what we were being told, that means he's doing at least 4.
Yeah.
And could that be an entire
4,
season? Or if not, it's definitely at least close to being half a season. So I kind of thought, the more I thought about this and looked at the timeline of the Second Age, I'm like, maybe and I was telling Ez this, I was like, maybe they pull maybe they get 5 seasons, which they totally could do. Maybe each season is a span of time that really stands out, and that spans the entire, like almost anthologies, but within the age. Picking the most important points every 500 years, 600 years that are turning points or a lot happens, because you kind of see that. You see major events and then sort of a period of time where either decay or prosperity happens, and then big moments, and then more of, now once you get to the end of the age, there's a lot more stuff going on. You could spend maybe 2 seasons or 1 full season going a longer period of time. But yeah, it'll be exciting nonetheless. I mean, I think that everything we've heard from the actors and actresses, and everything we've heard about Bayona's vision, honestly, that he's blowing people's minds. Like, these actors and actresses are going, wow, I cannot believe that he's trying this and it's working. And so it makes me think of Peter Jackson. Yeah. How that no one thought The Lord of the Rings could be made into live action films. No one thought that.
Hollywood doesn't really do a great job of listening, though.
No, to the creatives. You're right.
You know what popped into my head here that I thought would be like kind of just a good standalone movie? A Story of Baron and Luthien.
Oh yeah,
which is First Age, right?
Yes, yeah, First Age.
I mean, that could be its own little mini movie or something on Amazon.
Right, totally could.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about like an actual like love story with conflict.
Yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to ask you guys about, because this is how things work. Do you think that there will be any liberties taken to create the sort of like content or drama that keeps people engaged in shows? Or
talking
do you think,
nudity?
Well, no, I'm not talking nudity, but
sorry,
because I'm really bad with names. The female elf,
Tariel.
Yeah, it was on the tip of my tongue.
Evangeline Lilly. Yep.
I liked her.
Yeah.
She wasn't there.
No.
So I'm just saying that, do you think that something like that could happen?
Guys,
is this different from a hand raise? The timeout?
This is a timeout. Okay, now here's the thing. This whole, and Dave's, you're actually right. I mean, I'm only bringing this up because we've talked about Tario. We've talked about she's not in it. How do we know?
Well,
How do we know?
True. I liked her addition.
Yeah, because I think that's the spirit is. There's a bunch of characters who aren't named or whatever, so I'm cool with them doing that. So yes, my answer is I think that yes, they're probably going to take some type of liberty like that, make a character, give them a name.
Two blue wizards just show up.
Oh my god!
Dude, and
Ezen Lane out of the mist.
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh! Hey, and you know what?
I think they did come slightly earlier, not that early, but still, that would be.
But I think honestly, I was thinking about this, reading through it the other day, the deforestation of Middle Earth and how the Numenorians had a huge part to play in that, building their navy. I think there's a possibility we could see Tom Bombadil. And I think he might be played by Dave Fogle. Actually, I think so. It's funny. I'm starting to. The more I'm starting to read and get into this, and this is crazy, man. I feel like a whole new world has been opened up, and I feel like why haven't I read, these stories, this account before? But I think it's fitting for the time as well. But some of these actors that we've made predictions on, I'm gonna have to come back and go, I think I got an option B to an audible that this person could also play. I think there might be someone that we've seen who might be playing Tom Bombadil or could play Tom Bombadil. Anyway, all that being said,
what?
Yeah, I think so. But
okay,
it's gonna be awesome, dude. And then we've also talked about First Age. Do they start in the Second Age? They've got to work back, right? So they've got to please the Tolkien estate, appeal to the younger influence now that Christopher is no longer with us, and how difficult would it be to have been your dad's editor, closest, or edited some of his works, been closest to your dad in that, had that similarity for story creation and helping finalize some of his stories, and then to say, you guys go ahead and run with this and make changes. That would be very hard. So the more the Tolkien estate, or the longer time goes on, I think the more open they will be.
Yeah.
Because I think even in The Hobbit, some of his grandsons or great grandsons made appearances as like elves, or they were on set and seeing the films being made. So I think they are more open to the idea of more being done. And so to go back to the First Age, would be awesome. That's one of the things I hope they open with. I hope they open with some sort of prologue-esque.
Rob English just comes through and narrates it.
Oh, some hook where we get the War of Wrath. We get something with maybe we open with Morgoth's like spirit being banned to the void. Like this, just this screaming, and we see this like streak of something into nothingness, and it's like, what was that? Like some kind of hook that is technically in the First Age. I don't know. So but to go back and some of those stories are just, and to see Morgoth and the way that we're going to see Sauron here, hopefully fleshed out, would be awesome.
So when do you think changes go too far though? I mean, because when you think about, we're talking, in my opinion, we're talking classic literature now. We're not just talking like, modern classics like, I don't know, like Tom Sawyer or something. The stuff we were made to read, of Mice and Men or something like that. Which, I mean, at least of Mice and Men had a pretty faithful recreation of that in movie-ish form. I don't remember if it was straight up movie or if it was like TV thing. But anyway, like how far is too far though? Because like, okay, so Shakespeare. How many movies have been made based off of Shakespeare? Like, was it Merchant of Venice that had Al Pacino in it that I really liked, which was a terrible story, by the way, if you want to talk about divine comedy. But anyway, how far is too far? Yeah. What addition would just be too much?
I think the only thing that I would have well, I guess it's going to be difficult because I don't really know the Second Age very well yet. So I'll give you an example of what I do know from The Hobbit. Anytime those films veered too far from Bilbo's perspective, because reading this, I didn't even know until I read through the whole thing this summer before we started the reread. I was like, this is all from Bilbo's perspective. Yeah, it never it is a Hobbit's tale. It doesn't leave his point of view, his path at all.
Things were missed because he was knocked out.
Exactly. And I love, and I understand that would be kind of difficult in a movie, but I think if I want to follow any perfect casting, it's Martin Freeman as Bilbo. And in film like 2.5 and into film 3, I felt like, where's Martin at? Like where? Yeah. And I know you got Richard Armitage, who's the man, and I know he played a great Thorin, and that you're working in Thranduil, and Lee Pace is beautiful, and you're bringing Orlando Bloom back and all that stuff, and that's great. But I felt like I missed my main reason for watching those films, The Hobbit. So I would say if they, and we do actually have some semi-confirmation of this, at least if the names aren't like fake throw names. There was a bit of a script that was leaked, and the names of the characters do not appear in the Second Age. So, but that also might be code, right? They do that with films all the time to make sure we don't know who they're talking about, especially if they're keeping characters close to the chest. But if they took away too much from like stuff that we know to be true or focuses we know to be a part of the story, for me anyway. What do you think, man?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're very right. So it's tough because the Second Age is like it's full of holes. It's right. There's tons of stuff we don't know.
Which they could also use to their advantage. Which is what,
that is where people are going to get dicey, I think, and it's maybe the whole Tom Shippey conversation. Like they said, we have these holes, let's fill them with something. And they're going, but not that. And it's like, well, that's where people are going to get, run into the whole spirit of Tolkien. Yeah. Did we do too much? Did we go too far?
It's a great question.
But if it's not altering, one of our pillar characters, those characters who carry us through the Second Age, I don't know that it's going to matter that much.
I mean, and to Dave's point, too, they did that in Lord of the Rings, right? Yeah. We were just talking about taking Tom Bombadil out, or at least... or even changing some of the characterization of Aragorn at times, and Gimli at times, and like Frodo's age. Like Elijah Wood is 19 years old. Well, Frodo was 50 when he went on his adventure. You know what I mean?
Even some of the movies can definitely be darker, because like even in this chapter, when you think about it, you're in this black cave. Yeah, it's wet. Yeah, drips. There's a giant lake. Yeah. There's no light aside from the lamp-like eyes of Gollum, right? Yeah. But they're playing a riddle game. In the movie, you have Freeman just holding out his sword the whole time. Yeah. In this, it's not the same. It's not the same. He doesn't even draw his sword until the game's done. Yes. So movies are always going to have movieisms. And I mean, you could say that for Harry Potter. I mean, how many people get irritated about the movies versus the books?
Yeah. And there's sometimes where you like it better. right? And you think, you know what?
Well,
that
you-
actually is a chance to kind of,
Yeah, not to talk out, but you got in Lord of the Rings through the movies, not the books, right?
Absolutely, I did.
So-
Yes, I did.
Which,
So
which is a great thing.
yeah. And then we've talked about that. Hopefully the show, that's
Yeah.
one of our concerns with the show, hopefully being, that kids can watch too, is a way they'll get into
Yeah.
the Second Age and into Silmarillion, and it'll be their
Yeah,
own
one of these
adventure in Middle
stories,
Earth.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a different gateway into the world of Middle Earth, which is cool. And so for me, sometimes like when I think back to the books, I get muddled because of the movies. I'm like, wait, is that something that just happens in the films or what? Yeah.
Well, I didn't, I was going to drop this here, something you guys don't know. So, I mean.
Did you get cast or something?
No, not cast, but,
You have a script?
No, I'm their intimacy coordinator.
Oh,
There we
hello. You were making some eyes at me, and I was wondering, I'm like, is Dave auditioning here? Or is he trying to tell me how to later?
should know.
The girls are with my
Should know.
in-laws, so
yeah.
tonight's going to be a special night, guys. I mean, we can hang out, but you're going to have to eventually get out of here.
Right.
Unexpected podcast after dark.
Yeah.
There'll be some riddles in the dark. That's for sure.
And folks will think I'm joking, but I'm sitting here going like, I have no idea what either one of these guys are talking about. Like I have no idea. I'm still 12 years old reading my my books. So anyways, all right, you rascals.
man, I love
you
it.
rascals. I knew there was going to come a moment.
And I didn't mean to go on that. Like this it's nice talking about the show
Yeah.
because you and I talk about it all the
Yeah.
time. It's nice hearing what
that's what we want,
Dave
yeah.
poses some great questions too. I mean,
No, that's
how much change is too much
is
change?
too much. That's I think what everyone is concerned about, and they're asking and kind of wondering.
and I honestly wonder how many people are going to know because I don't think
I know that
nearly as many people.
Right.
So The Hobbit is the
Right.
most familiar, right? Then Lord of the Rings, I'd say, and then Silmarillion is way down there.
Yeah, quite honestly,
I think.
more people know about the first age than they do the second.
There you
age.
go.
Because what are the great tales of all the great tales were the first age.
Sure. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that is, I think they're in a great spot.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they were doing the first age, people would probably have more beef with like the liberties taken because
Sure,
there's more
yeah.
literature
Yeah,
and stuff. And second age, there's just not as much. Although there's more than I realized,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And
Yeah.
so Lane's
Yeah.
been digging into that. I'm happy to
It's just,
join
it's
him.
exciting.
It's great.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was some dropping eaves there. Again, we are starting to do more YouTube videos, actor speculations, trying to think about how the show's going to go while we're waiting for a trailer or more confirmation of who's playing who. So go on over to YouTube, check that out. We're having a lot of fun. And also, I wanted to give a huge shout out to people who have commented. Great
Yes,
comments, great
really good
questions,
comments. Yeah.
great suggestions. Actually, there's a couple, as I talked about before, there's a couple characters or actors I kind of want to rethink on characters, and it's come from some of those comments.
Yeah.
So we'll give you shout outs for sure, but thank you for that positivity that's on there as well. We really appreciate that. In Orner Corner of Moral Or,
Wow.
other corners of Middle Earth, I want to give another shout out to Isaac, the Lord of Maps, Lord_of Maps. Go follow him on Instagram. Again, he's making all the Tolkien.
Must be nice. Must
Sick.
be
Yeah,
Maps.
I am. So Dave has his. I pre-ordered mine.
So did I. I pre-ordered mine too.
Okay, and mine, I've been following it on the Route app or whatever.
Yeah.
Mine is going backwards. It was in Indiana, and then it's
yeah.
gone to Missouri, and then I don't know where it's going next, but it needs to make its way to Ohio because I'm ready to get mine.
There's some funky shipping things going on right now
'Kay.
for
a lot of stuff.
bigger reasons.
Okay, yep.
But yeah, no.
So you've
mine
seen
kind
it-
of did a little bit of that too.
You've seen it in the flesh. How good are they?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I would have bought a bigger one.
Okay, yeah.
So he does have the U.S. map now.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about getting that one because
Nice.
the detail's amazing.
He does a great job. Yeah.
The detail is amazing. Just with the landscape, topography type
Yeah.
of stuff like that. Listing the little towns. Amanda's obviously on there.
Yep.
There are some other towns that aren't on there. They're a little bit nearer and dearer to my heart that aren't on there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Did
no,
Mount
but
Vernon
it's-
make it?
I don't think it
I don't
did.
think so.
It didn't really.
I
No,
don't think it did.
Delaware didn't make it either, but
Yeah.
Marion was there.
Yeah, weird. Yeah.
No, I'm just,
No, we're just kidding. We're just kidding.
It was-
Population.
Can't put them all in there, but-
Population.
they're so
Population.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had a bit more of a hand at art, like for that finer type stuff.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't.
Yeah.
And that's that map making stuff
It's
is
so
very
tedious.
tedious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing is you do it once and you can make prints and not the artist formerly known as, but yeah. But he's also making larger, like almost like tapestry, like hangings, which are really cool. I saw on Instagram the other day that he's had with the wood brackets on the top and the
Really?
bottom, really just oversized versions of his maps as well. So go check him out. 5-star reviews from Dave. I mean, they look beautiful. I can't wait to get mine. We are in the reread in record time, as it's been an hour and a half or so, or what?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on a sidebar real quick here.
Yeah. No.
I'm ready. I'm ready, Dave.
I
live
this
for
our
the
last
sidebars.
aside, or I mean, God, that's turned into a joke. I've been making last asides for 2 years now. I don't like what. Yeah. No. So this is cool. And I kind of wanted to just get like Dave's overall impression as we start this. It's a chapter full of riddles. I mean, it's actually a very straightforward chapter as far as like plot and sequence and stuff. It's really like, I think it's more, what's the takeaway? What's your, kind of your connection to it? Or I actually love the connection that you were talking about, just it being one of the more memorable ones,
Yeah. Like I said, and I think we'd shared this in some other thing that I did with you, but like when I was a kid, reading was very important in our house. So my grandmother would buy books, like the first book in a series, never subsequent books.
Right.
That was down to my mom.
She got you hooked, though.
Yeah,
Grandma
she would get you hooked. And then, before I was able to read myself, my mom would sit with me and we'd read almost every night, couple chapters of something. And, I do remember getting into Lord of the Rings, and I remember getting to this point, and because of said vivid imagination, as stated earlier, it scared the living crap out of me, because all I could picture was, just like black, and then you just see this little island in the middle of a lake, and I'm not really a big water person, honestly.
Yeah, me neither.
You're a hobbit.
Yeah. I was just never super great into that, but and then just this creature in my head was this creature just reaching his hand over the island and just peering up at you was just it was scary.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of one of those, there's a bit of a levity in this book because it's written more for kids, but it is singularly a life and death situation.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Yeah, it is.
well, you get this wrong and we eats it.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. That's
No
for
big
sure.
deal.
Is it
Typical game.
scrumptious?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Which
yeah.
coincidentally, I was listening to this chapter as I was driving down here. And when it got to that, is it scrumptious? I just started thinking about this would have been like a 90s, like a Doritos commercial, because of the whatever it was the phrasing that he said. It's like, I can just hear some like rocking music in the background, like a kid on a skateboard. Is it scrumptious? And then just, sticking a Dorito in the gullet, But anyway.
That's hilarious, man. Wow. Yeah, the Gollum flavor. Well, it'd be a fish taco. Fish taco Doritos.
Yeah,
Locos
the-
fish tacos.
With just a touch of bat wing.
Just a touch.
Oh,
Thank goodness there's
jeez.
no bat wings in here.
Jeez.
Well, there might be.
Who knows? Sorry.
What are your major takeaways
Well,
from this? Off the bat.
Off the bat, yeah. Well, I'll take. Okay, actually, I've read this probably not counting back when I was in middle school or even high school, and then after in college. I've read this chapter quite a bit.
Yeah.
And every single time, even on the way down here today, as I was listening to it, I was like, when the answer comes up, fish and eggs, I'm always like, what's the answer?
Yeah,
So
I know.
like, wait a second, what is the answer again? Like they're going through the riddle. I'm thinking to myself, okay, wait, what is it? And I was like, it's fish.
Yeah.
What the heck? I mean, and then it was eggs the one time, and I was like, how do I not remember that?
Doesn't it also make you
Like,
kind of
it's
wish that we did more riddles?
My mind doesn't think like
I know,
I
it's
just
crazy.
I'm not very good at them at all, and
Well-
I'm like, wow.
Well, in the chapter, we
We've kinda seen
almost
that.
talk
Yeah, we've seen
about.
that,
I mean, we
both of us.
talk about like a code, almost like a magic associated with the game of riddles.
Yes.
And a promise made upon the game of riddles.
Yeah.
Yep. Ancient and binding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And how the question that he asked didn't technically fall into that. It sort of broke from the cadence, if you will.
The game was never finished.
Never finished.
Well,
It was never finished.
And the other thing too is there is a subtle underlying of magic in this particular chapter that is kind of blunted upon by the game and just the straightforwardness of escape. You know, the fight or flight of escape, and you run into Gollum, blah blah blah. But Bilbo finding the ring.
Yeah.
By chance.
Yeah.
By chance.
And then using it, not of his own volition.
Yep.
Then
Yes.
almost losing
Almost
it.
losing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
You're
know.
right. No. Yeah.
And even the moment when he picks it up, he says, or Tolkien says, picks it up, put it in his pocket, didn't even really think about it. I searched for the first edition of this chapter. So the biggest
talk about
takeaway,
that? Yeah, what
the
is the
biggest takeaway
difference?
for me was the fact that he edited that he wrote this initially, when Middle Earth was not fully formed, and he hadn't written Lord of the Rings, and he wasn't even sure what this ring was going to be. And originally I have notes actually that I found on it, which are really good. But the gist of it is, in the original one, like the prize for the game of riddles was the ring, and Gollum willingly gave that up.
Really?
So it wasn't about him helping him find a way out. It was about the ring.
Yeah,
that was the present. Yeah.
Wow.
I can't remember 100% about when I was a kid and this was being read, because it would have been
Which version
it would have been pretty young.
Yeah.
Because for some reason I can't remember him just finding the ring.
So you would have heard the original version.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I just can't remember just randomly finding the ring.
it. Yeah.
For some reason, and you get that Mandela effect where you misremember things.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
For some reason, I don't know. I just thought that there was more to do with either legitimately he stole it from, took it, or it was something, but too young.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. And your first reading too, you can't probably remember exactly. I remember I don't remember very well the first time I read Lord of the Rings. There are things that going through this last reread, I was like, did I ever read it? I know I did, but I don't remember reading this at all. Right. So partially it's just like the amount of detail he puts in. It's almost too much to process. I'm finding that with the Silmarillion, you've got to, there are pages I got to reread and stop and think about, okay, who is this person? Why is this person? So the major changes are really that, do you care if I just read some of this? Is that okay?
Please do,
talk
yeah,
about,
I'm actually trying
I'm going to try and paraphrase, and it won't be nearly as good. So this is from the Tolkien FAQ by William D.B. Luce. I found this on the internet. Yeah. It was one of the best explanations I could find. So in the original 1937 edition of The Hobbit, Gollum was genuinely willing to bet his ring on the riddle game. The deal being that Bilbo would receive a present if he won. Gollum, in fact, was dismayed when he couldn't keep his promise because the ring was missing. Okay. He showed Bilbo the way out as an alternative, and they parted courteously. It's almost like, I couldn't find the ring because Bilbo had it. So I guess there you go. He found it in both versions, but him helping him out was like, it's a replacement. Sorry, I couldn't get you the ring.
Yeah.
As the writing of the Lord of the Rings progressed, the nature of the ring changed. No longer a convenient magical device, it had become an irresistible power object. And Gollum's behavior now seemed inexplicable. Indeed, impossible. In the rough drafts of The Shadow of the Past chapter, Gandalf was made to perform much squirming in an attempt to make it appear credible, not wholly successfully. So I do kind of, even in this last reread, not that long ago, I do remember that there was some question as to how did Bilbo get the ring? And Gandalf kind of knew and kind of didn't know. This is the part that fascinates me. Tolkien resolved the difficulty by rewriting the chapter into its present form, in which Gollum had no intention whatsoever of giving up the ring, but rather would show Bilbo the way out if he lost. Also, Gollum was made far more wretched, as befitting one enslaved and tormented by the ruling ring. We definitely get that in this version, obviously. At the same time, however, Bilbo's claim to the ring was seriously undercut. The textual situation thus reached was that there now existed two versions of the episode. Tolkien definitely made this circumstance part of the story by suggesting that the first time around, Bilbo was lying under the influence of the ring to strengthen his claim. Bilbo had written this version in his diary, which was translated by Tolkien and published as The Hobbit. I just love how Tolkien comes at this.
Wow.
I love how Tolkien comes at this. But now here's the rub, right? He doesn't want Bilbo to be a liar. So how does he fix that? I get goosebumps even thinking about it, because how many authors, I don't know, maybe quite a few.
Cares a lot about like his character
and
there.
it goes back to the whole thing as, I found these texts. This really happened. So it was a translation, right, or a mistranslation, whatever, or no, translation of his account. Hence the error in the early editions, later corrected. So the new sequence of events inside the story is laid out clearly in Of the Finding of the Ring prologue, and is taken for granted thereafter for the rest of the story, as in The Shadow of the Past and at the Council of Elrond. The Hobbit, as now presented, fits the new scenario remarkably well, even though Tolkien, for quite sound literary reasons, left this entire matter of Bilbo's dishonesty out. It would have been, this guy says here, irrelevant, an irrelevant complication which would have thrown everything out of balance. The present attempt to step back and view the entire picture is made more involved by the fact that there were two separate pieces of dishonesty perpetrated by Bilbo. The first, made explicit, was that when he initially told his story to Gandalf and the dwarves, he left the ring out entirely. So we're getting into what happens after this chapter. Yeah. This, no doubt, was what inspired Gandalf to give Bilbo the queer look from under his bushy eyebrows, which is on page 99 of this version. Yeah. Later, after the spider episode, he revealed that he had the ring, and it must have been at this point that he invented the rigmarole about winning a present, an incredible action given the circumstances. There is, however, no hint in the text of the second piece of dishonesty. As noted above, it would have been a grave literary mistake. So readers are therefore given no indication that when Balin insisted on having the Gollum story told all over again with the ring in its proper place, that Bilbo didn't respond with the quote-unquote true story exactly as described in Chapter 5. In this regard, Of the Finding of the Ring in the prologue is a necessary prelude to The Lord of the Rings. So all that to say, like I still am processing this entire, two story versions, trying to explain why there are two versions. That really is because his idea of what the story and what the world was going to be changed, but wanting to make sure that he kept the honesty of the Hobbit intact, right, and the integrity of Bilbo, to not make him this liar, but to also show that the ring had an influence on his account and his story. Fascinating. That for me, that's the most the biggest takeaway from this chapter was just almost the writing of it, and the willingness to go in and fix it, and then the willingness to make to present reasoning for why he fixed it. It's just crazy. The whole way he mixes fantasy with this idea of finding these ancient texts and this actually, happening at one point in history as a prehistory blows my mind.
Yeah, nowadays you just have somebody go on social media and say, well, about this particular thing. It's different. Have fun.
It's almost like explaining it away instead of giving some sort of like logical reasoning. It would make sense that Bilbo might tell this story differently. Right? Especially if you consider the ring's influence, if you consider like him not even knowing what the ring was and not necessarily wanting to say, oh yeah, hey, I found this magic ring. And you see Gollum's reaction to it. So he had to be thinking too, like, how would the dwarves react? Yeah. How would Gandalf react? What is this thing I actually have? Who am I going to tell that I possess this thing,
So just playing another potential take here. So what if, I don't, it doesn't work in my mind, but what if they had the Hobbit as is, but then in the beginning of the Lord of the Rings, we get the true account from Bilbo then.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Lord of the Rings is a little bit too big of a story to just plug that in because of how massive it is. But I'm just, No, but instead he goes back and literally just retools his book.
Rewrites it.
That's crazy.
But we do get some of that in The Shadow of the Past, though. In that chapter reference, we do get a lot of backstory. It's literally us sitting down with Gandalf and Frodo, hearing about everything that Gandalf has learned about what this ring actually is. So I don't know. I don't think that'd be out of whatever at all, man. I think that's a fair point. Good point. Yeah.
I just want to read, because I pulled this up on
Yeah,
Gateway,
yeah.
and
What
it's
you got,
interesting. The chapter, as we get to it, we're going to talk about the riddles, and we're going to get into some of the specifics. But I mean, like I said, it's very straightforward. He's lost. He finds Gollum. They have the riddles. The whole thing goes down, and it is what it is. So persuaded by his publishers, he started a new Hobbit in December 1937. So this was, the Lord of the Rings was supposed to be a new Hobbit, right? It was that was the working thing, whatever. After several false starts, the story of the One Ring soon emerged. The book mutated from being a sequel to The Hobbit to being in theme, or more of a sequel to the unpublished Silmarillion, right? So it wasn't even that it was really, it was like they wanted, he's pushed by his publishers, they wanted a follow-up to the Hobbit, but yet he's saying, well, you know what? It's not just going to be that.
I'm not going to do
It's
that.
actually going to be like this sequel to the Silmarillion. What? The idea of the first chapter, a long-expected party arrived, fully formed. Although the reasons behind Bilbo's disappearance, the significance of the ring did not arrive. Along with the title The Lord of the Rings until spring of 1938. Originally, he was going to write another story in which Bilbo had used up all of his treasure and was looking for another adventure to gain more.
Broke Bilbo.
Yeah. However, he remembered the ring and its power, the power that it had, and he decided to write about that instead. He started to write it with Bilbo as the main character, but decided that the story was too serious to use the fun-loving Hobbit, so Tolkien looked to use a member of Bilbo's family.
Wow.
He thought about using Bilbo's son, but this generated some difficult questions. Where was his wife? How could Bilbo let his son go into that kind of danger? So he looked for an alternative character to carry the ring. Let's see here. In Greek legend, it's a hero's nephew that gained the item of power, and so into existence came the Hobbit Frodo.
Wow.
I mean, that to me, I was reading this, and like, it is fascinating to kind of see from, the late 1930s to like when as he's developing all of this, and this is the chapter where we had to go back and redecide, like what are we going to make? How are we going to turn this one ring to rule them all, right? And turn this into something and what did it do to Gollum? And he's lucky that he had a character, I guess, so similar to Gollum that it would work, that it works so well and easy, I guess, because had he been this friendly, fun-loving,
like a Tom Bombadil
like
type.
a Tom Bombadil, like, here you go,
he would have been
pal,
kind of stuck.
what else can I get you on your journey? Like, I mean,
do
it's just
also love like his willingness to, because I think a lot of people would see that, like a lot of authors, I would think anyway. I mean, I if I wrote a story, I'd be like, I can't go back and fix that. I can't go back and fix that. Like, people are gonna think I messed up, but his willingness to go back and see it as, no, this is how I'm going to enable these stories to continue and develop, and I can make it sort of like since this is a Hobbit's tale, there and back again, I can make it seem like it was sort of a different translation of a version of this story. I love that that humility he had. Because he took these stories very seriously, but he also really did see himself as like almost like a nonfiction author of like presenting these lost historical tales. And you think about that with history, we go back and we say, actually, we got that part wrong, or we found out more, or we discovered this hidden city, and now we're trying to figure that out.
Or the victor rewrites everything.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
What?
Yeah.
Guys,
We're not supposed to talk about that.
There is so much, and I'm glad we did this, because I guess this is a whole other area that I would maybe love to go down at some point. But it's like he had this publishing war thing going on where he was that I didn't know about, like that really didn't influence like what he decided to do. He wanted to get these stories out, and this back and forth between Collins and
he didn't like the publishers telling him what to do either. Yeah. I mean, the one that I know most about is he hated the title Return of the King. Hated it. He was like, no, it's got to be the War of the Ring. You can't tell what happens in the story. And they were like, no, we want people to know. It's got to be predictable. And he was like, he hated that. Yeah. So I do kind of remember hearing about some of these.
Yeah, and he wanted like the Silmarillion to come out with the Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
It's even though it was largely unfinished or whatever, that in his mind and what I'm reading here is that like, well, that's okay. This is ancient.
Yeah.
and it's spotty, and maybe it is not all the way completely,
Yeah.
full, and that's okay. It's legend, lore, and myth, and it was found on old scrolls that are halfway torn, and we're missing half the story, or
it really
that
says
kind of thing.
it
It's
says a
like,
lot
what?
about his gut too, doesn't it? That
Yeah.
he trusted that people would find it interesting, that people would read it.
Yeah.
Because you look at that and you're like, that's not sellable. Like that,
Right,
no one's
right.
going to read that. No one's
Right.
going to read a spotty historical based on language and names that are not connected to any other part of the story that's known, and that it's such a different tone from what your hit. Your hit's The Hobbit, man.
Mm-hmm.
Your hit is The Hobbit, and it's simple, and there's easy names, and it's very easy to understand. And so his trust in his audience to go, no, they'll dig that too. Like they'll like that.
Right.
People want stuff like this. That's mind-blowing. Like, that's the genius of Tolkien, I think. And also that he probably didn't give a crap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
this is something
yeah,
I'm
it's-
creating.
yeah.
If people read it, cool. If not, that's cool too.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder a little bit about geniuses that have maybe been snuffed out because of the publishing or the film world, where they could have created something so amazing, but because they're told, no, do it this way, that they weren't able to.
And do you think
they don't have the strong enough personality to bring that forward?
And do you think maybe Tolkien's like high renown in the world of academia probably helped him? I would think like that he was based in language, that he was creating languages, and that his forte was in part writing stories. I would think that would be like, yeah, you actually don't know more than me. So do you know where I teach?
Yeah.
Do you know what I do for a living? Like,
Oh,
so that
wow.
maybe enabled him to be even more bold.
Yeah.
To say, nah, I think we're gonna do this, and be
Yeah.
able to have those battles. Where I'm thinking, you're right, because a lot of times, I mean, stereotypically, a lot of creative people are very, they're very sensitive about their work. It's like, I don't know I don't even know if I want to share this because of the fear of rejection. I think about George McFly, right? Not sure I can take that kind of rejection, and in an alternate reality, he ends up publishing his stories,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. How many geniuses have we never been exposed to because,
But I mean, you see the boldness though in his books, though. I mean, it's a bold story. I mean, just stepping out your door, is a bold move for a couple of young hobbits.
Yeah.
So-
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and this whole genre for him is actually bold, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, you like creating a creature called the Hobbit.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I always forget that he wrote that first line.
Back of a paper.
Yeah.
Board. He was grading.
I
He
would
flipped
love
it over and
to
said
eventually do an episode where you've always said this, like when you kind of stumble into things when you're ready, and when it's good for you, right? When you're interested, that's the best time. Forcing somebody into something when they're not ready, it's not good. I mean, it's not going to sink in because right now, because of this chapter, I'm curious. I just read it, the 2 different editions, and then I go into the publication history. It's a whole world it's a whole other side of this whole thing. And right now we're diving into the Second Age. Why? Because we're intrigued. We're interested in it now. We went through the Lord of the Rings and we've watched the movies and whatever, and now we want more.
Yeah.
So I think everyone can come to stuff in their own time. And for some people, this might be like, publication
Obviously.
stuff. Not
you guys
really
forgot this and that and the other. Yeah.
Yeah, or
not
they,
interesting. Sure.
either one, one. And so I just think kind of keep that in mind because
And that's also kind of
it's
like a game of
interesting.
riddles if you think about it. Like it was him back and forth with these powers that were threatening to kill his work in a sense, if that's not too much of a stretch. But
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's dive in here. Now, I'm not gonna do just for sake of time because we literally, I know with the 3 of us here, I wouldn't.
Another
we're not
two-parter.
Literally, we're not able to. I blame Dave. It's the voice. We have to use it as much as
Dave
possible.
brings about such good conversation
And
too.
he really
I mean,
does.
he asks great questions and yeah.
So, because to me, the whole beginning of this is something Dave said earlier, which is, recalling home. So we know, just in recap, Bilbo has hit his head. He's fallen. He's laying in a corner.
He's in the blue tent on the sidelines.
Yeah, he is right. He's injured.
He's concussed.
He is, and so he wakes up and he does what hobbits do, and he's thinking about his bacon and his eggs, and
Immediately reaches for his pipe and his
Yes.
tobacco.
That was I wanted to bring that up. That was my favorite part, that he, he's finding little victories, right? He's got nothing.
Yeah.
He's got nothing. Doesn't even know where he is.
Right.
He can't see anything. Like hand into the face. So dark. He finds his pipe. It's not broken, right? Finds his pouch of tobacco. There's still some there. Goes for a match.
It's not
None
there.
to be found.
None to be found.
And then how it ends up being a good thing, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it's like that would have drawn, like the smell of tobacco and the lighting of a match may have drawn something even worse than Gollum.
I love the way it's phrased too. Is like he finds he realizes he has the pipe, and that was something.
Yeah.
And then when he finds
Yes.
the tobacco, right, that was something more.
Yes.
And you're like,
I wrote finding something in quotation marks in dark times.
Yeah.
And like how often do we that?
Ooh, yeah.
It's a bad time and we're looking like for us right now. It's the fact that we're all together talking. That's something. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, in sort of the backpacking world, you choose your gear very, very carefully. Like everything that I have in my pack is curated in a certain way that I know that I can rely on.
There's a
it.
purpose and a reason
Yeah.
for
So-
packing it, or you don't pack it, right?
Right. So, you know, you go out on you do your thing, and then you camp, and then you're searching for each individual thing because you know you're going to use it in a certain order. So, and I've had a few times where that one thing was missing, and it literally just it almost kills it.
Shattered. Like doesn't he use the term shattered or something like that, or can't remember the exact phrase. Crushed.
no, it
Felt
shattered
very
his hopes.
crushed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that it even further that it shattered his hopes
There you go.
completely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow, that's something cool. Because earlier I was joking around like I didn't have a cable, and hopefully that hasn't frozen up the old camera there, but I was missing a cable. You were talking about packing up everything and getting all the right things. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're not gonna have a third camera for this episode because
it's too much to think
because I didn't have too many so that you're missing that one thing. But you know, it is what it is.
It's got the two important guys talking out of the same mic, so we're fine. As long as that's good. Those angles are good.
But I also did like here when they start going into his blade. You know, he pulls it, it's glowing slightly, and you know he realizes, oh, this isn't just some little paper opener that I just randomly found in a cave. This is actually something important.
Yeah.
And
I had forgotten that they hadn't really confirmed that it was a blade from Gondolin, right? And this is the time where he finds, wow, it is an elvish blade.
Yeah, for sure. And I know I should be taking that a little bit more serious, but I don't know, you know.
Oh no, I've got that. I've got that underlined too.
Did anyone else write something kind of funny?
I drew it out, show him pale and dim before his eyes.
All right, well, it wasn't just me. Anyways, it's important though.
Wasn't there more? I remember there being more than that though. Wasn't there something even more suggestive? I remember having a good laugh about this too, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think it comes
where is it?
later on.
Later on.
It was like fall. I mean, he's
he's drawing it from his pants, right?
Yeah.
right.
So
yes.
my mental image was just like the front of the pants and just like.
I know. Well, and then
It does glow.
It's at the end later on.
It's longer than I thought.
Are
goblins turning it on?
Yeah.
Is that too far?
Yeah,
All of a sudden,
everything,
the age group of this particular piece of the podcast dropped by 15 years.
Listener B. Yeah, absolutely. Boys are getting hobbity again.
Something else. Yeah, we haven't even started in on the pipeweed over there, so that's look out. No, but yeah, so that's cool. We get the sword out. We're doing our thing. It really is as he's kind of like moving along. You guys stop me. I'm not going to try to go through every single line of this, but as he moves through. It's the part that I think scared Dave when he was growing up is that the
don't
darkness.
Speak for Dave.
I'm sorry, I could be wrong. That's why I'm saying could.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yes, that's fair.
When he first opens his eyes,
Can't tell the difference.
can't tell the difference, and you're like, it's that dark, right?
Have you
so
guys
that's
been
how dark it is.
in a place that dark before?
Mammoth Cave. I was there.
Okay,
Yeah,
mine's
they do
in a
the
cave
thing.
too.
Yeah, and they tell you to they show
They
you
turn your light off, or they say turn your lights off real quick.
They have you close your eyes,
Uh-huh.
get used to that. They turn the lights off. They say open them,
Isn't
and then
insane.
they do it both ways. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It
It is a terrifying thing, and sort of think about being trapped there and having no sense of direction. Be wild.
Yeah, it's why.
That'd be wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, anyways, I don't know. So now he's kind of like feeling his way along, trying to figure out what to do here, and he is going to quickly come across our friend. Is he a friend? He's a friend later on. Gollum, right? So, doesn't his foot come across some water, right?
Yeah, kind of
Isn't
steps
that
into
the idea?
And
Dave
Edge
said
of
he
the
was,
lake.
and I
didn't
thought
know-
at the beginning of the chapter 2 it said that his head was swimming, and I thought it was just kind of funny.
Oh,
It
yeah,
said
yeah,
his
play on
head is
words.
swimming,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Gollum is out there on
Yep.
his lake doing his thing with
Yep.
his boat, and hobbits don't like water boats.
Word choice, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
For feeling dizzy and like a splitting headache
And there's also all this description too of like what the goblins found here, right? Or what they kind of like
they stopped.
that this is the ending point, and so things crawl in here.
How some of these tunnels were made by other
Yes.
creatures. So it's like he's building the suspense too of what are we going to find? Like, I do love too that he does give some, again, these hobbits, they always have some kind of extra like secret weapon, some sort of some
magic,
magic to them, right? And it's
yeah.
just it's mentioned very quickly, but he talks about it's actually not that bad that he's trapped underground, because hobbits are more comfortable underground than you and I, right? That they are more used to tunneling than we are. They do not easily use their sense of direction underground. Not when their heads have recovered from being bumped. So we do have a little bit of a hope here that like Bilbo's doing better than we are. Like, we don't know what he's going to encounter, but at least he's not, I don't know, stuck on a mountain somewhere or something like that.
And so much of this stuff is just so matter-of-factly stated when he runs in a lake. So it is a pool or a lake and not an underground river.
Right.
Right. Precisely.
Yeah. I guess you'd know because it's not like flowing, but yeah. I do love how he,
that's the whole language or the everything like in the Hobbit. It is really just simple and straightforward.
It reminds me so much more of Lewis's like Narnia writings and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you were talking, Lane, just the idea that we're learning more about these hobbits, comparing the Hobbit to us and how us, like, because he said, I should not have liked to have been in Mr. Baggins' place. Who's I, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, me, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I'm reading the story.
It's almost like he's translating
Bilbo's all together. Yeah.
Bilbo's diaries, but he's writing a commentary at the same time as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you say, because like we learn about the hobbits, we say, well, okay, Bilbo's going to be better off than most of us would be.
Yeah.
Because you start to think this is almost an impossible situation. Like, where do you go? What do you do? You can't even see.
Right.
You do have a glowing sword, a pale, dim sword that was,
in your pants.
Right.
Right.
So,
Wouldn't that be risky business, putting a sword right in your drawers?
Well, every time he falls on it, I'm always just like
Don't never fall on your sword.
Well, he did later. I mean, we'll talk about that in a second. Like, he does seemingly fall on it, and it,
like, of all the things, of all the places you could put it, I mean,
down your pants.
It's risky business.
Yeah.
Somebody's compensating.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Is that sting in your pants, or you just?
Oh my gosh! So we splash into the water, as you said. There's a pool. Is it a lake? What is it? The whole 9 yards. Then they talk about like the fish and the things that would swim in there and how long ago they came in, and it's just sort of like their eyes are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's scarier. And you are starting to learn, like, I don't know, it's a little bit of
it's like lore building almost.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of related to real life too. You're sort of like,
what's in the water?
What's in the water? That's kind of scary. And things that are like in dark places. Why do they have big? You can picture that. You're like, okay, I get it. I know what he's talking about.
It almost made me. This is like one of the only connections I made. It made me think of the Watcher in the Fellowship, outside that little pool outside of Moria. How you almost got the idea that it had gotten trapped in there and then outgrown its space and something to be feared in the water. And I love how he's doing this though. He's just imagining what could be. So.
Yeah, he's just describing all this, and then he has to talk about. So we talk about the fish, we talk about the pool, we talk about how the goblins, this back corner where sometimes they'll send, like, if they want fish from that lake, they'll go get them.
The Goblin King wants,
right, and whether or not the fish would return or the goblin was up to this guy, enter Gollum.
Yeah.
So the description of him. So deep down here by the dark water lived old Gollum, a small, slimy creature. I don't know where he came from, nor who or what he was. He was Gollum, as dark as darkness, except for two big, round, pale eyes in his thin face. He had a little boat, and he rowed about quite quickly on the lake, for lake it was, wide and deep and deadly cold, reminding us over and over again it's a lake.
You know how they talk about him here, about how silently Gollum can move, and how, I mean, depending on how you look at it, not really a Hobbit, but something
Yeah.
Hobbit-like.
Yeah, sure.
Eventually, we look into that.
Yeah.
And even here, very, very early on in this book, we even get hints of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How stealthy, and how quietly.
Yeah.
Because we constantly talk about how Bilbo can move quietly when he wants to,
unnoticed.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, was this a gift? You go back to Gollum's story. Did he steal it? Is he also a burglar as well as Bilbo?
Well, in this chapter, I think it's later on, but I think Gollum's the first one to call him a thief.
Thief, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's finally earning that title, man. Like it's no longer just this like joke of a Gandalf, title given.
If I say he's a burglar, then a burglar he is.
Dude,
dang, man, vying for Gandalf too.
I
think
he is. I know he is.
this is like Dave's audition tape or something.
I mean,
send it into Amazon.
Send it in. Does anyone else listen to the audiobook though? Like, do you listen to? Yeah.
Oh, I personally I love Rob Inglis.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it's really good, and just the whole when Gollum is freaking out, he does a really good job.
He
He
does.
does really good. I mean, because he does that whole thing. Dave, he's freaking out.
He does.
Dave. I'm like, what?
Yeah, my other favorite thing he did was, what was the exact phrasing? It came down like a hurricane.
Yeah.
I love how British people
Yes.
say hurricane.
Yeah.
Hurricane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Can you imagine how hard that would be to read this entire book and then bring feeling and
Those
like,
guys
that
are
would
great.
be so hard.
Those guys are great.
Yeah, they
I
are.
love audiobooks for that
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
They're bringing the story to life, and
Yeah.
it's a cool thing. So what? Oh yeah,
My
here
precious.
we go. Yeah. Oh, you're precious. Feeling the old. By the way, I didn't know
Whoa,
those were
hey.
meal. The actual MRE stands
ready
for.
to eat.
I meant to say that
Meal ready,
earlier.
yeah.
I'll just say it now before I forget.
Mr.
Gosh,
E.
Gollum could use a few of those, couldn't he? Down here, I mean, like.
Are there any of these companies
Or
called
is that what
Mystery?
Bilbo? Is what Bilbo actually is?
Are there any of these companies called Mystery? That would be perfect. Mr. E.
Oh Lord! Wow.
Was that a dad joke? Was that a dad joke?
All right.
Just one
And
period
then
away.
you never know what menu you're going to get. It's a mystery. Literally a mystery pack as.
Yeah. It's a mystery. I get it. No. Hey, you know what?
All right.
Lane acts like I miss all of his jokes. He just missed my joke earlier, so it's fine.
Something
I'll let
about
everyone.
what is it? What he is or something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Was it
Yeah.
good?
Yeah,
I
I
usually
was
know
saying
when
that-
you're making a joke
Right.
because you laugh a lot. Because
Yeah,
you're like,
I
hey,
laughed at
check it out, man.
Yeah, I laughed at it. People can go back and let me know which one was better, the one that Lane ignored or the one that I ignored of Lane's.
How is that usually?
But
That's so flipped.
I'm totally kidding.
That's so flipped, though.
It's weird. I don't know. I'm just
It's normally the other way around.
All right. See what I have to deal with here. I got these two rascals. I mean, Dave had nothing to do with that.
There's
but-
tension. They haven't touched feet once yet.
Actually, you and
I'm
I touched. I
stretched
didn't
out.
want to bring it up, but we touched not that long ago. It was Dave's foot, not yours.
I'm jealous, dude. Mine are like right out in the middle of the table, and no one has.
I'm left-footed,
no one,
so
no one has touched me yet.
it is. The more people you get around this table, the more touching happens.
Oh my god!
We ain't talking about swords, folks. We're talking about Hobbit feet, okay?
Wow.
And so that being said, I gotta go
I don't know.
see a man about a horse. I'll be right back.
That's
Or Hobbit
fine.
or
That's
something.
fine. Go ahead. I actually wasn't sure. I mean, like, because Lane turned on a pale, dim light above us, and I was like, "Was that the light that turned on, or did somebody draw a sword?" He missed that one too. Lane missed that one too. All right, Dave. Let's see if we can make some progress here while Lane is, I think the lake got to him. He was hearing
Lake
too much
got
about
to
water
him.
and lake.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Again, we were talking about getting older.
Running water.
Getting
Yeah,
older.
I know.
Running. We're getting older.
We're not wearing our Depends today.
All right, so you mentioned like the slimy rock, right? So he lives on this slimy island of a rock in the middle of the lake. He was watching Bilbo now from a distance with his pale eyes like telescopes, and that is sort of that's another scary part to that, right? Is we care about Bilbo. Bilbo is walking in the dark, and this guy who we just realized is super scary. Seemingly, we don't know that he's quite wretched, but I mean, we do know that. In relationship to the goblins, sometimes they don't come back because of this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
Just to your point there, I do think it's kind of interesting that. Do you think he talks to the goblins like he did to Frodo here, or was he so confused by what Frodo is that he just had to have that conversation?
Well, that's a good question because you know the goblins well enough to know. Because I think one of the lines is he wanted to know whether or not Bilbo was alone, right? Because if Bilbo has more people with him, And that's like, how long are you going to wait and watch for that? Or are you going to go up and approach him and question him? But I think it was the curiosity that, like, what is this thing? And he's a hobbit, not related to the goblins, so maybe that is sort of why he did approach him. But that's a really good question. Like, is he rolling up playing games of riddles with other goblins and stuff, you know?
The little imp goblin that he caught a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just a treat, precious.
Yeah.
On not related things, the village no longer is stopping carryout, so we can order whenever.
Really?
So huge shout out to Jeff and Jody at the village.
Huge
official
shout out.
sponsors.
Yes.
Not really. The official restaurant of an Unexpected
See,
Podcast. So we can
Village.
get takeout whenever.
You just
Awesome.
have to say future sponsors.
Future sponsors.
Yeah.
Future
Yep,
sponsors.
yep.
Mystery MREs. You never know what you're gonna get.
It's the new business venture, isn't it?
What if they literally put Forrest Gump on the cover too?
Oh my god.
Never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for laughing, Ez. I appreciate that. Really building up the ego, my friend.
I don't know what to. I mean,
Give me that box. I'm dumping my water on
People
it.
wonder why the 2-hour episodes. This guy, right over here.
Wow, seriously?
I'm seriously calling you out.
You know what they're saying online about you? You can't hang for 2 hours.
Stretch.
How would you know you're not even online?
This actually does
No,
get
no.
some. No, it doesn't.
No, it's actually Lane's the one online saying that, so
I'm
he
the one
knows.
making those posts.
He's the one. Oh, okay.
On troll, I have like a fake. I've got a burner account or something. Well, that'd be great.
Yes, it would
Not Womprat 2M or Womprat 3M or something. Womprat 1M.
Wow.
Beating you, boy. I'm number
Why
one.
hasn't
You're
someone
number two.
created that though? That's actually hilarious.
They
If
will
they
now.
wanted to troll me, you know,
They will now.
Womprat_1M or 3M. Either one. 2.5M.
2.5. Just slightly longer.
How many meters? How many meters was it?
Slightly.
Oh, this is this is
Just a
starting to
little
shape
bit.
up for
Just
a
a
really,
bit.
Little editing headache, huh?
no, not even close.
Your phone is so big.
There's nothing that I need
guys
to
have
edit
such
yet.
big phones.
Nothing yet. So keep that in mind, though.
Yeah.
All right. So as he's talking
Is that
to
a
Gollum,
challenge?
No.
Okay.
As he's talking to Gollum, like they're talking. I forgot that he mentions like I've lost the dwarves, I've lost the wizard, and I don't know where I am, and I don't want to know if I can only just get away. I just got to get out. Yeah, I got to get out of here. And Gollum asks him, what's he got in his handsies, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the sword, and that causes Gollum to kind of go, I'm not so sure about that. Mm-hmm. So that's a dangerous little item. It's good that he has that though, and he has it out, because otherwise, I'm not so sure we would have played a game of
good
riddles.
point.
You know what I mean? So nice that we have the sword there. So, but yeah, so Gollum is anxious to appear friendly at any rate for the moment until he found out about the sword, more about the sword and the Hobbit, and whether he was quite alone really, whether he was good to eat, and whether Gollum was really hungry. So there's a whole bunch of different things. You're in the mind of Gollum a little bit, like I gotta weighing the sword. Is this a Hobbit? Is he alone? Does he even taste good? Back to the trolls. Do they taste good?
Yeah.
Not even sure, really,
Yeah.
right? They're not in the old list. And then am I really even hungry? That's where we're kind of that's where Gollum's at. So, and Bilbo just wants to get out. He's ready to just kind of move on. But there needs to be sort of this. We get into the riddle game, right? So it's basically determined that Bilbo will. He almost gives himself like I'll be the meal, right? I'll be the MRE, right?
Wow. Who knew that this little guy would have so many connections
I don't know,
to
but,
this chapter?
right? Yeah. So I mean, he offers himself up, and in return,
some not MRE.
you want to start eating that right now?
Some SMR, real quick.
Go ahead.
ASMR.
Cheesy cow. All right, Lane's just
this with
my
teeth.
yeah.
That'd be a weird channel, wouldn't
That
it?
would be a weird chat.
That would be a little weird. But then the idea is that if Bilbo wins, Gollum's going to show him out. He's going to show him the way out.
Fair
right?
trade.
Yep.
I eat you. You let me go.
Yep. Very well said Bilbo. He was anxious to agree until he found out more about the creature. So he also is trying to assess this creature.
Yeah.
Whether he was quite alone, whether he was fierce or hungry, and whether he was a friend of the goblin. So it's kind of a really cool
Parallel. And I'm seeing
Yeah.
numbers here again. It's
Yep.
3 things for each.
Yep.
So the
Yep.
number 3 yet again.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do love that. And it shows, I guess, to talk about to touch on what Dave was talking about earlier, that's drawing the similarities between Bilbo and Gollum as a hobbit-like creature and a hobbit. They're kind of even thinking the same way.
Right.
Well, I touched his foot, so I mean,
I am back in high school right now, and I love it. It's great. I love this. No, my whole job is to be in high school for the rest of my life.
Break out the orchestral instruments.
Okay, I got my cello somewhere. I think it's in the garage.
Wow,
I'll
that's
dig it
unreal.
out. There's a lot of stuff out there right now, but yeah,
It's unreal.
That's the bat's fault.
All right, we're into the riddles though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're into the riddles. So I don't know how you guys want to. I don't know if we want to read them, if we want to talk through them, or what we want to do. But like I said, I kind of forgot some of them, and I loved the commentary that like. One of them would think this was an easy riddle, and I remember at one point they were like, it was the one about fish, I think.
Or
And Tolkien was saying, you probably know it, sitting there in the comforts of home. I'm sitting there going, I don't remember. I've read it 3 or 4 times. I actually don't remember what it is.
You calling me stupid, Jaron?
Because at one point I was like, oh, it's time, it's wind, and I'm like, no, that's later. What are you doing? Like as I was trying to
beat yourself up so much, man.
I was really beating myself up because
At least you're not eating yourself up. That would have been
like if it came down to trivia in the riddles, I would still probably lose this.
Yeah, I would have been out the first time.
One thing I liked during this whole sequence is they both made riddles that they thought would be very easy for the other person based upon their own experiences, but wound up being very hard.
Difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
that's true. I
That
didn't
touches
think about
on the
that.
whole, your experiences and what you know and what you think is, perception and well, not perception, I guess, but point of view. You think
Perspective.
Perspective is it? Was
maybe.
right? Okay.
Or experience or whatever.
Thinking about something from somebody else's.
That's why I don't get riddles at all. It's because I'm stupid.
Wow.
So that makes so much sense now.
I didn't want to call myself stupid. But
Well,
Lane
you're
did.
you're just contagious, man.
Lane
This attitude, beating yourself up.
Oh my gosh! All right. So, what has roots as nobody sees, is taller than trees, up it goes, and yet never grows. You know what I might do? I'm going to just take these books away from these guys, and I might just read these and say, hey,
I won't remember.
isn't it
I
crazy?
do kind of find fault with this one, no pun intended, because mountains do get taller. But they didn't know that back then, I guess.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, Lane.
Then you have to factor in erosion. That's a good point, Dave. Any scientists out there? We have any geologists who
few.
can help us out?
Kira, what's up? Yeah, I mean,
That's true. Kira could tell. I just
Yeah,
clipped out. I'm
you
sorry.
totally
Kira
clipped
could
out.
tell us.
Yeah.
Yes, she could. Yes, she could. She could
Yeah.
say, actually, based on the erosion to push rate.
to tectonic plate growth
Yeah.
stuff. Things
Science,
that
science,
Science.
science,
There we
science.
go.
Bill Nye.
All right.
The Hobbit guy.
way. So we have mountains there. I'm just going to read through the riddles if that's cool. Just read
I
through
put my
this.
book down to see if I could guess.
Oh, okay. All
wanna
right.
do
Oh,
that?
I'm going to cheat.
You're not going to.
I feel like cheating. No, I'm just kidding.
You Bilbo.
We could have Dave.
I
Read
think
them.
you should
We could
cheat,
have
actually.
Dave read them to us, and I can put my book down. You want to try that?
Imagine. Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see if I get these. I'm nervous.
Maybe I
because
should.
don't
Maybe I
remember.
should mix them up so you don't
mix
get
them up.
in
Mix
order.
them up.
Okay, so
Mix them up.
let's put a bet on it though. Like, what if
What's
you
the bet?
lose?
What's the
Do you
wager?
eat me?
Well, wait a second.
Yeah.
Who gets to guess? Is it like you're going to give? Is there an even
I'd
number?
almost like want to see. Okay, whoever loses has to run around the house naked.
There are 6 left.
There are 6 left.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so.
So it'd be a
3 to
loser
you,
or a winner gets.
3.
Winner gets dinner at the village. How about that?
Winner
no.
pays.
Loser. No, if you lose, you have to eat some of my MRE, but not much because I don't want to share much of it.
Okay.
Okay. If I lose,
Yeah.
you decide.
I don't know. Dave, help me decide. What should Lane do?
This is scary now.
This is scary.
I didn't bring anything that would be like a punishment.
Yeah. Dave.
Yeah,
Dave,
too many
Dave,
gifts.
Dave
You
just
have
brought
to
gifts
drink this
here.
delicious coffee, young man.
Yeah.
Or maybe we could do positive then. I mean, it's rewards. So if
I don't
you
know.
win,
Yeah.
whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's just do the riddle. It's a stupid idea, okay?
No, it's not a dumb idea. It's people are probably screaming at me, wanting me to make you do something, and I don't know what it is because they know I'm gonna win.
All right. Gauntlet thrown down.
I'm gonna win. So yeah,
Kiss
what's
your
it-
own butt?
What
You
do
have
you,
to
do you
kiss
have
your
an
own
idea?
butt.
Do you have an idea?
Well, we're in
Am I
high
gonna-
school now.
Am I gonna have to
We're
edit
back in
this
high
out?
school.
No, it's completely clean.
Okay.
The winner has to switch their phones.
Oh,
I like my phone though.
and I like.
I don't want to give that up.
I like my phone.
I don't want to give that up.
That's-
my
Or
precious.
the loser that has to.
have heavy stakes.
Okay, that's all
Heavy
right.
stakes.
I don't want you to have my phone.
That's
though.
heavy.
I quit.
I mean,
quit.
like
That's heavy.
not like physically give each other your. I mean, because we don't know what Ez is into.
Yeah, I know
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
almost DMs or troll dens.
Yeah.
that's
Troll dead.
With lots of bears.
Oh my
Or a couple
god.
bears anyway.
I'm loving this.
At least one bear.
Let's just on the fly. We'll figure these out. We'll figure out a
I
punishment.
don't like that one, Dave. I'm out on that one, bro.
No, Lane.
I'm not giving up my phone. I love my phone.
That was a good idea
love
though,
my phone.
because
That would be punishment.
that would be punishment for sure. So
For both of us.
you see what happened? You know, with the
Just one other thing here. I was just thinking as I was thinking about an order here, because they talk about order, the order of these riddles. Maybe this wasn't the right time to ask this particular
Whip this one
riddle.
out. Yeah.
So there's even a little bit of chess behind
Yes.
the order of the riddles too,
Yes.
which I thought was cool. So
that is really
Can I
cool.
tell you guys
Strategy,
something? And
strategy.
I want to share this with the listeners. Don't ever do
Is
this.
this a last aside?
Don't ever
or second?
search on your computer, punishments for
Oh,
losing.
no.
my god!
oh my god, don't ever do that.
I mean, just like it's just eating bad stuff. I was like, why?
I'm
why?
sure that's
why-
what it is.
You guys put me on the spot.
We're gonna make Ez run out in the cornfield.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't.
And eat
I
whatever he
can't.
finds. It's just all eating things. Are you sure?
I can't. Let's read these. Let's
Okay.
read these
All right.
riddles.
We would have been so bad at Fear Factor, like creating something for Fear Factor.
Yeah, I don't-
We'd be like, we
No,
got
you
nothing.
wouldn't. It's all the same thing.
That's
Whole
true.
penis.
Eating, yeah.
So anyway.
Ooh. I think I might actually eat one though, just to say I did. Would you guys? If it was prepared the right
If
way.
it's prepared the right way.
I mean,
maybe.
what's the difference between that and a sausage?
Dave's not answering.
More blood.
Okay, so anyway,
So
first
anyway,
riddle here.
First riddle. Is this going to both of us, or do we would do
Oh,
three
that's a
for
good
three for
question.
Lane?
I mean, well, there are 3 and 3.
3 and 3. Let's do 3 and 3.
3 and 3. So
Okay.
yeah. And I can steal. I can steal if he gets it wrong or something.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Can
Who's
I
going
steal
first?
if you-
Who's going first?
Precious.
Dave doesn't get to
Do
pick.
we have a
Dave doesn't
don't
get
have
to pick.
a coin? Yeah.
Hold on. Dave
Rock,
doesn't.
paper, scissors.
Here we go.
Shoot.
Shoot. Got it. I'm
That's
going.
cheap, dude.
I'm going first. I'm going first.
Okay.
All right, it's like a coin flip, really.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Let's see.
I have read the chat. People are going, haven't you guys read the chapter?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
This is just an experiment to see if our retention is there.
Yeah.
go.
It's
Okay.
yeah. What is it?
Voiceless it cries, wingless flutters, toothless bites, mouthless mutters. And case in point.
Hold on, no, wait.
Half a moment.
You wanted to go first.
Half of. Can you read it one more time?
Voiceless it cries, wingless flutters, toothless bites, mouthless mutters.
Is it tasty?
I think. Hold on. I think
Is
it's
it scrumptious?
because this is the one earlier. I thought I was messing up. I almost said whatever. I almost
You said time instead of what it is.
wind. Right? Is it wind?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. You
okay,
got
okay.
it.
Okay.
I honestly
it.
might be able to recall the film
Chimney Christmas. Not even fair.
to be able to remember.
Not even fair.
Maybe. All
time.
right.
The answer is time.
Darn. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay.
1 to Lane.
Ready, Dave.
All right. It cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelt. It lies behind stars and under hills, and empty holes it fills. It comes first and follows after, ends life, kills laughter.
Darkness. Is that right?
Yeah.
Thank God, because I was thinking death for a second. I'm like, wait, kills? Oh shoot, he's pausing.
Man, I mean, I was hoping Lane just was going so fast that he would just, That was actually one that in the car on the way here. I was like, what is that one? I forgot that one.
Sorry, you conceding that I'm better than you? After you just said I was really
There is
high
one that I
schoolish?
even that yeah, we'll see. Go ahead. Still.
30 white horses on a red hill. First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still.
You know this one. This is like the easiest one.
Yeah,
I
know.
mean, it's the easiest one.
Pretty easy. It means he can give you the hard one that I don't know. Teeth. It's teeth.
I thought for a second you didn't know and you were buying time. You're like, thoroughbreds?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Do you think people listening think we're just reading off of the book?
Yeah,
Maybe, but that's why you're the visual. Like,
Yeah, go watch.
Books are down, so
It really is
I
that
don't
big of a struggle for
yeah.
us.
A box without hinges, key or lid, yet golden treasure
Egg.
inside his head.
Or eggs is, I
I don't know
should
if you would have remembered that had I not brought that up earlier. I brought this
That's
up.
like one of the only ones I do. Are you
Oh,
trying to discredit?
I'm throwing.
Dude, I want to. I'm ready for this,
All right,
Dave.
Dave, what do we
And
got?
I know you think I'm not going to eat the whole thing, but I am.
Sure he is.
You can. I mean, it's that. You
Who
can.
did I touch? Who was that? You?
That was me. That was not a full touch,
Okay.
though. That was
All
a full
right.
touch. That was a graze. All right.
Gandalf the Grays. That would be a different name.
That would
A
be
different job. That.
Oh, okay. Fan art. Anyway.
How much are you an hour, sir?
Wow.
For dancing.
Am I up? Am I up?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
Well,
an eye and a blue face.
oh, this one is
Saw an
tough,
eye
dude.
and a green face. That eye is like to this eye,
Yep.
said the first eye, but in low place, not in high place.
This one is the tricky one.
So I don't know. Like this one has never really made sense to me. I mean, is it just the sun and the moon?
So it to be honest, it didn't really make much sense to me either.
Yeah, I didn't get
I mean,
What is it?
Sun on the daisies.
yeah, sun on the daisies.
Sun on the daisies.
Yeah. Eye
I
in
guess
the
I
blue face is
technically
the,
missed
the,
that.
Eye in the blue face, right?
Yeah.
It's the sun in the sky, and then is like the eye on the green face, which is the part of the. But isn't it
And they
daisy
thought this
white?
was easy, right? This is the one that
Yeah.
like they thought was easy. Yeah. Or that.
Well,
yeah.
Tolkien was a genius, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
pandering,
yeah.
I guess.
All right.
Making
Well,
us
hey,
feel
I'm
better.
down one. I'm down one. That's the.
All right,
Make
so
sure Lane gets the other hard one.
I have two extracurricular tiebreakers that are not in the book. If we
Okay.
need to,
All right. Good.
Yes, he does. He was telling me how dark they are. Too.
they're dark.
God.
I think it's fitting that we do it in the middle of the chapter too. Isn't that? It's almost better.
Well, darkness is falling right now, so this
Darkness.
is, you know.
All
this is
right.
Great.
Live without breath, as cold as death, never thirsty, ever drinking.
Fish.
All in the yeah.
Yeah.
There was one more. Is there another one though that was really tough?
Did you almost look in your book?
No, I just wanted Dave to look.
Do you have one more though?
No, there is one.
Oh,
that-
that's all of them, isn't
You
it?
see it?
No, there was. I didn't turn the page.
Oh,
So I
this
don't,
goes to you, young man.
well, I don't want this to.
This is redemption for the one you missed.
basically it was a 3-2. You won, so we were going out of 6. So this one we're both going to try to answer. Ready? This is just the last one,
Oh,
right?
like the quickest person to answer it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, it gives them a chance to tie or you
Okay.
a chance to pull away.
Okay, sure.
Okay, this
I'll pull
thing,
away.
all things devour, birds, beasts, trees,
time.
flowers. Okay, he was quicker on the
was.
gun
But there
there.
is one more though, isn't there? I think there's one more.
What's in my pocket?
And
What's in my
it's-
pockets?
No, it's tricky. This one it's tricky. I'm trying to remember. I can look if we want to stop the competition and it's tied.
Yeah.
So
Except for the dark ones.
yeah, the
Wanna
what?
go on the dark web?
The dark ones.
Hold on here.
This is where the riddles get really dark.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Okay. I think that Dr. Bean Coffee Company has a Riddles in the Dark Roast blend coming out, and this is what's going to be on them. Riddles on the back. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Riddles-
Charlotte,
That would be great.
let's get that. Let's make that happen. Oh, okay.
what?
Let's put a sore loser. Such a he wanted to get me on the last one.
We
We tied, man. It's fine. So you're not even a sore loser. Are you a sore tire?
Here it is. It's very hard. It's very hard to find. No. I want to see to you guys.
Well, now I got to go up against Dave.
No. I just want to see what you guys think.
Is this the death one?
No, it's Gollum was dreadfully disappointed that Bilbo had asked another riddle as quick as ever. They just answered the fish one, so that Gollum had to get back into his boat and think. No legs lay on one leg.
Oh, yeah, man
legs.
eating
Yeah.
fish sitting on a chair or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, what is it, Lane? What is it,
It was
buddy?
a man,
don't
it was a man
remember.
Nope.
sitting on the stool and the cat eating the bones or
There
something.
you go.
like
Yes.
that.
Oh,
There
we
you
need
go.
the whole thing, guys.
Yeah,
No.
there was one other
Oh,
part.
oh, okay. So all of a sudden now
You're reading it.
No legs lay on one leg, 2 legs sat near on 3 legs, 4 legs got some.
Is that what it says?
Did you say 3 legs too? By the way, third leg.
No, it was like the fish on the table. The man eats a fish.
Hold on, guys. It's a lot of legs here. No legs lay on one leg.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 legs sat near on 3 legs. 4 legs got some.
That's what it is. It's the.
I can't.
Dave's right. The bones. The cat eating the bones.
It was not really the right time for the riddle, but Bilbo was in a hurry. Gollum might have had some trouble guessing if he had to ask it another time. As it was, talking of fish, no legs was not so difficult. And after that, the rest was easy. Fish on a little table, man at table sitting on a stool, the cat has the bones.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the stones.
Doesn't make any sense to me still. I mean, I kind of get it, but like,
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just a lot of legs.
just a lot of stuff running around. It's crazy.
A lot of gray area in that one.
All
Dark
right.
area, I guess.
2 more.
2 more.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do 'em.
Let's do it.
Yep. This will be our riddles in the dark, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is our Riddles in the Dark.
Okay. It cannot be seen wherever it's there. It fills up a room and is much like the air. It cannot be touched and there's nothing to hear. It is quite harmless. There's nothing to fear.
It is quite
What is it?
harmless.
It's the darkness.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's the darkest of all riddles. So let's get darker.
Because dark.
Oh,
No, I'm-
Dave. Wow. There I thought it was going to be something. Wordplay.
He's a
He's
regular
wordsmithing it.
Tolkien man.
Wow.
all right.
Okay, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Last one.
You ready?
Poor
for
people
this?
have it. Rich people need it. If you eat it, you die. What is it?
Ooh, can you do that one again?
Yeah. Poor people have it. Rich people need it. If you eat it, you die. What is it?
If you eat it, you die.
A bad one of these.
Well, maybe.
Poor
just
people
kidding.
have it.
Yep. Rich people need
That's
it.
not my official
Rich
answer.
people need it.
As does it feel weird that the best you can do is tie? Is that hard for you?
Wait a second. I thought I already tied because I said time first. So I tied right there.
Right, and then I just got the next one. I
Oh,
got
that we were
darkness.
competing. That was, dark was easy. That was easy.
You didn't say it.
That was easy.
Oh, okay.
Um,
so tire.
No, man. I don't, so
Flat tire?
What is this one, dude? What is this one?
I don't know. Poor people have it. Rich people need it.
Yeah. Rich people need. What do rich people need?
If you eat it, you die.
I was gonna say.
Is it like a metaphorical eating,
No.
or is it literal? It's a literal eating.
It's more literal, yeah.
If you eat it, you die. Poor people have it.
Mm-hmm.
Rich people need it.
It's not money.
Eat it, you
Think
die.
think more from a macro standpoint than a micro standpoint.
Macro.
It's not metaphorical. It's not like
I'm thinking about
it's a
it.
physical object. Can I ask that?
I think that might be going a little bit far if I answer that.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So we're not playing that game. That's
So
fine. That's fine. Okay.
if it's not money, right?
Is it poop?
Cheesy cow. This is wow. I have no idea. I have no
I mean,
idea.
I can answer your if you want that hint.
Answer it. Yeah, answer it. Yeah, what's it?
So it's not necessarily something physical.
Okay.
Not something physical.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
poor people
If
have
you
it.
eat it,
Rich
if you
people,
eat it, it will kill. Say it again. It'll kill you.
Yeah. If you eat it, you die.
If you eat it.
it's some sort of principle or something.
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
some sort of desire or
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
So poor people have it. Rich people need it. What do rich people need?
Rich people need.
like perspective. I don't know.
So if you have unlimited money,
Uh-huh.
what do you need?
Something to spend it on.
Oh, it's nothing.
Yeah.
If you eat it, you die. Nothing.
Wow.
Do I technically get? Nah, that was way too cheapened. You walked us. It's like when Matt walked us through that one, and I got it. I can only be.
I almost said nothing. Actually, that's so weird.
You know what's funny about
I
that
didn't think
is
it
like
worked.
no one
Yeah.
believes when people say that because like, oh yeah, I was gonna say that too, and no one ever believes
except for
that
if
person.
you go watch the video, I actually mouthed to the camera.
Let's rewind that.
I-
Did Dave's voice come out?
Yeah, maybe it did. Yeah, maybe. All right.
Those were good. Those
was
were good.
good.
Those were good.
So let's finish this strong.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
It's always. I can't wrap my mind. I always want to go more complex than it really is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the trick. Is like to unthink, to not overthink with riddles.
Yeah.
That's when you get into trouble.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, and that's so.
Conversation over.
Let's talk about. Let's finish up the riddle game, and let's just move to where basically we're going to escape. Okay.
And the
'cause
pity,
we've
the pity,
basi-
right?
Yeah,
that's the biggest part.
That's a really big part.
The mercy
because
that
to me,
is
the
shown.
end of this game was not like it was what's in my pocket, and that was asked in a rush. I mean, it was really asked out loud, not even directly to Gollum. And
Yeah,
you
he
had
was
three
thinking
guesses.
to himself.
Well,
Yeah, not fair. It's not fair.
But was it him?
Oh, did the ring? Yes.
I mean, how much influence does the ring honestly have?
That's a great question.
I mean, because he had his hand in his pocket
Yep.
on the ring.
Right.
Right.
Why? Yeah.
I mean, could that have been?
Wow.
His way of or the ring's way of escaping Gollum's
I mean, because-
grasp.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's
That's
a great
cool.
question.
Bilbo's clever, and
Yeah.
he's got a good mind. Why would he just blurt that out?
Yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden.
That's a great point. That's
Yeah,
a
all of a
great
sudden,
point. Was it the ring's attempt to leave and get out?
Yeah, because it was in a direct response to the, like, he says it without even thinking.
Yeah.
And it happened to be that it was a
Question.
a question that was asked.
And Gollum had to say, "Ask us a question."
That's what I meant.
Not a riddle. Oh,
right.
okay.
Yeah, he said,
His
"Ask us a
phrasing
question."
was different.
It's almost like when he said that, Ring. If you're going to go with Dave's idea here, Ring saw an opportunity, right?
So, and that's actually something that I've
Crazy.
thought about a bit. How does the Ring decide on when to leave?
Huh.
Because when you think about it, it's like reading people to the point where, like, in that situation, so does it believe? So obviously Frodo or Bilbo finds it. Okay, so it goes with him, absentmindedly put it in the pocket. Does the Ring honestly think it's better off with Bilbo or Gollum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, Bilbo's not really a fighter. Gollum has
Right.
killed a ton
Right.
of different things.
Right. With
But-
Gollum, is it going to stay hidden?
Yeah, and then that's
With
the thing,
Bilbo,
because,
there's
like,
a chance
but
it could get
Gollum,
out.
yeah, it'll,
And he's not a fighter, so someone else could overtake
Yeah.
him. Hopefully, one of Sauron's,
Right.
under the influence of Sauron.
Yeah. I love what
Yeah, it weighs the options, though, doesn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
because even with Isildur,
Yeah.
I mean, he said he was betrayed, which he was literally betrayed, but was he betrayed by the Ring? Could the Ring have influenced something of that nature?
Well, the way Galadriel
That-
in the prologue talks about, like, the Ring, when they describe what or is it Galadriel, Bilbo, whatever, coming across the Ring, a most unusual thing
Yeah.
happened.
It's something the Ring did not intend.
Did not intend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, because it was probably
that
intending to
doesn't-
go with one of the goblins or something
Yeah,
to get out,
uh-huh.
you know?
But then, to Dave's point, that doesn't mean it's not what the Ring didn't want.
True.
Like, it probably never, because
It intended to be
Sauron
taken out of
doesn't
there,
give
yeah.
credit to the hobbits. It never enters his mind that a hobbit would be walking the Ring to Mordor. So why would he intend for a hobbit to get it in the first place?
When and I think it kind of makes sense for it to want to get to the goblins because
Yes.
they are a dark creature and
but they're also
potentially
stupid too.
Yeah, but
You
the
know what I
thing
mean?
is you got to think if that got to, say, like, Goblin King,
Yeah.
and I'm the Goblin, all
Right.
powerful Goblin King.
Right.
Well, Sauron's gonna probably hear about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then gonna send down his, whatever the orcs and so forth.
That's
to
a good
take it.
point. That's a
I don't
good
know.
point. Yeah, it would be more easy for him to take there or seize if it was in his own ranks.
The two
Yeah.
biggest mysteries in this whole story is really the story of Gollum and the unexpected story of hobbits, because Gollum finds the ring, and then for how many years? Over 500 years or something like that.
it's a
Yeah,
long
hundreds.
time.
Keeps
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, just keeps it, and the world thinks that it's lost.
Yeah.
That it's just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there can't be any prescribed intent. Like, oh yeah, sure. I'd like to go with Gollum for a nice vacation. Me and Sauron had a good run, but to be honest, I just need a deep, dank, dark vacation with my man Gollum. You know what I mean? I'm gonna turn him a little bit into this creature. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of seems like both of their and aptly, the story then ends
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the same creatures that were so unexpectedly bearers of the ring.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Guys, it
And it's it's also crazy to think about. Like, I know this is not, well, it kind of does because of the pity shown that Bilbo and the grace that Bilbo shows Gollum this is ever even able to happen eventually, is that in order to free himself from the ring, it's his jealousy of the ring that ends up destroying both him and the ring.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude.
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is an interesting point. Like, I don't know. I feel mind blown.
Your mind's blown a little bit. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I think it's
because when you start thinking about the ring as an extension of Sauron and his spirit and his will, then it's no longer. And I think it's the genius thing that Tolkien did, is it's no longer just because we always, it's like these items. Like, what's King Arthur's sword? What's it called? Excalibur. Okay. Usually these items are like good items. They're sources of strength for heroes. Like, and we have cases like this as well in mythology, but it's like the main object is a source of evil. and that you have to destroy it instead of gaining it to win glory. It's flipped on its head from what it normally is.
That's a good point.
And it causes you to think more because it's not, oh yeah, this is the formula. Sure, he's going to get the sword. The sword's going to allow him to do, and we have that kind of storyline with Narsil, right, and Anduril. So we get that point as well. But it's not the main object. The main object is this ring. Well, and it's almost like you're taking that sword from, it's Sauron's sword in a sense. So you're having to destroy it so that he can't use it. It's like the negative aspect of...
Yeah. But you still see people trying to possess it.
Yes. Yeah, true. That's a good point. And, I'm thinking that they can bend it to their will and that they can control it with good intentions, but it never turns out the right way.
I can bend that thing to my will. Wouldn't know what's going to come at it.
Where would you get it pierced? Like, where would you put the ring? Do you guys know about the Easter egg that Jack Black got a Prince Albert with the ring?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that in the extended edition?
Yeah.
I didn't need to know that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for ruining
it. I can show you later, too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And Michelle Gellar,
it's like a parody or whatever, right?
She gets it off.
It's crazy.
The ring.
Well,
kids show. There was a foot.
I know.
There was a foot, yeah.
And I was not involved.
And you were not involved.
Just making connections.
All right, well,
just making cool
you guys,
connections.
process of elimination there.
Yeah.
So let's move on, shall we? Is that okay? Can we move on?
I guess. Let's get out of this hole.
Yeah. So to end all of this, I guess one more big, because I don't really want to go point by point here out of all of this. There's a back and forth about, it's like, look, you lost. You didn't guess what was in my pocket.
Yeah.
Given 3 guesses, not handsies, the whole thing, not string, not nothing. So, hey, we're done.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to show me the way out of here. He's like, fine, I have to go back and get some things. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Gotta go get a
What? I mean, come on.
It's a map.
Gollum.
I don't remember how to get it.
I'm going to go get something real quick. Maybe it's a lantern. I left it over on the thing.
Yeah.
So Bilbo's suspicious, and he's got the sword out. He's ready to
Starting
go.
to get a little
He's got Sting.
Petrified, freaked out.
Renamed,
Paranoid.
So when he comes back, he hears him freaking out, right?
Yeah. The shriek chills his blood.
He's gone. It's gone. And it had been with him for ages and ages. He's talking to himself, calls it his birthday present, the whole thing. And then all of a sudden, it's Gollum asking the questions.
Yeah.
What does he have in his pocket?
And I love that Bilbo is not, because you wouldn't, I guess, because he hasn't called it a ring. He hasn't called it his shiny thing. It's it's like Bilbo's not making this connection right away. He's like, wait, what is he freaked out about? And then eventually it's like, okay.
Well, he considers telling him.
Oh,
he does consider
that's
it. Yeah,
right.
And again, is that the ring or is that him?
Yeah.
Because he was very open in the beginning too about I've lost my
the
friends
dwarves
and
and
everything.
the wizard. Yeah.
And then he's closed off to him, gauging this guy. You're right.
Influence of the ring already.
There it is. Yeah. But because he does sort of say, what is it that you've lost? And it's funny because Gollum repeats back to Bilbo what Bilbo repeated, which is none of your business.
Yep.
Right? This is not, party business is my own, okay?
Man, this is so well done.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
it is
Could you just a what if?
I love those.
What if there was no Frodo and legitimately the Lord of the Rings followed Bilbo trying to take the ring and he has to re-encounter Gollum again?
Well, I was thinking as you guys were talking about this, I was like, like maybe 15 minutes ago, I was thinking, how close did Gollum ever get to like hunting Bilbo down? Was there like vengeance that he felt that he wanted? Because he curses him at the end of this chapter, right? Dude, that would have been crazy.
But I'm just talking because like obviously Frodo and Schmeagol at that point had a very different relationship. But if the two of them could somehow come to some sort of like concord or something like this, that it's like, yeah, we kind of realize we're getting really similar here. And then of course he turns on him again because he's been under the influence of the ring much longer. I don't know.
No, that would be. I'm sure that's got to be one of the things that Tolkien probably would have processed and thought and entertained.
Right, which is why he steers away. Yeah, that's but to think like
I still like Frodo,
we almost
I do too.
Well, we almost at the council, right? We almost had a situation.
I'll take it, no problem.
Where Bilbo says, "Here we go, friends.
Guys, it's been my ring.
Yeah, right.
I'll sort this out for you.
Like,
Don't worry.
Yeah. Got the
I don't
experience.
want it. I'll do it if I have to.
I've got my mithril, I got Sting. We're going on an adventure.
Bilbo, you're kind of old. That age is just a number.
Right.
when you've got the ring.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So to move us along again, So once he starts crying, thief, thief, Baggins, we hate. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I jumped a little bit too far ahead there. When he's screaming and yelling he's cursing, and he's all upset. Bilbo starts to realize, I need to get out of here, and he starts to kind of move on his own. And as he moves back through some of the passageways, Gollum is coming towards him. He sees the pale eyes, the change in tone.
When he realizes that he has the ring on, right?
And so now that's right where we're at. Boom. He's going to put his hand in his pocket. Ring goes on. Bilbo doesn't even realize it went on, which is furthering David's point.
Yeah.
And Gollum will run right past him.
Yeah.
And then
like a foot to his side or whatever,
yes,
right? And he doesn't even notice him. And then he starts to do a deduction where he sees really well in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
I steal?
No. I just
steal it from you, Precious?
You said a foot, and I was going to be an absolute jerk and say it was a yard.
It was a yard.
It was a yard. I'm just kidding.
I was thinking about Gollum's shoe.
Every once in a
Well,
while.
actually,
Bilbo's.
guys, I believe we should be in a metric system
Hey,
right now, so
people-
it'd actually be like a mirror.
People don't realize.
It's so much easier.
When I do, so like when Lane does it to me, because like if Lane would have done that to me, he would have been like, actually, it was a yard. People would be laughing. But when I do it for some reason, it's like, this is such a jerk. Dude. Why would you say it?
Maybe it's true. Maybe
Maybe
there's
it's true.
pity on me.
Maybe it's true.
So before this, real quick, I did want to, when he talks about, we get all to say, we get a little glimpse of Gollum, to David's point, Gollum Smeagol going back and forth.
Yeah.
In that conversation he has after he weeps, right? And then he starts talking to himself. We've got Gollum, Smeagol, Gollum, Smeagol, Gollum, Smeagol. It's very interesting how
Yep, it is.
without him sort of using the eye color, or the pupils or whatever that we see in the film, without him using even necessarily the term precious, we get this idea of one is much more menacing, kind of telling the other one what to do. The other one is a little more mild-mannered and less cruel. It's interesting how it's almost like less developed here. And so we can imagine and elaborate that later on this becomes more exaggerated, and the two sides become more polar, like what we see in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they start to struggle against one
with
another.
that absence of the ring,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Maybe that's more exacerbated or whatever.
Right.
Do you think
use that
it's
word?
the absence of the ring, or is it
Okay, here we go.
Gollum's previous good nature? Because when we finally see him in the film, he's a simple. I mean, he's just like a simple fisherman with his friend, probably living a simple life. So, I mean, like you would have, I would assume he's probably like a good-natured, jolly kind of dude. Probably liked some food and playing around, fishing, going on his boat. Yeah. But I mean, again, like the mind does crazy things. So I don't know. Maybe some of that is his own personality beating back the remnant of the ring that's locked in his mind.
Yeah.
Or is it just the absence of the ring? I don't know. Or both.
Or the absence of the ring allows his previous self to come back.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Because before he loses or realizes he lost the ring, he seems more like single-minded, doesn't he? It doesn't seem like he's having any kind of debate with himself. It seems like there's one person there, and then he realizes the ring is lost, which is also interesting.
Right.
It's not the actual loss of the ring; it's the realization of the loss of the ring.
Yeah.
That we start to see a little bit. I might be reading this wrong, but it seems to me like one of those is clearly Gollum. The next one, because he is talking to himself back and forth, and so the only other time we see that is in the Lord of the Rings when he goes back and forth as Smeagol and Gollum.
It is exactly why, like Gandalf will stress this, that it is so important. And we said this when we did the reread. The fact that Bilbo willingly gives it up is everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
You brought that up. I had never even thought of that.
Because,
it is.
Well, if he doesn't, it is sort of, the absence already is going to hurt him. But it's like, man, he's okay with it because it didn't catch him by.
It's the only transfer that isn't violent, isn't it? It's the one where it transfers from Bilbo to Frodo. The way that, like you said, and like we read, that the way he comes into his possession of the ring is peaceful.
Also, this is totally random, and this is going to be buried in this episode, and I don't know if anyone will ever.
Oh, so no one's going to give you.
No one's ever going to like write to the estate and say like, "Wow, this guy's
Ezra,
got all the
sign him
answers."
up.
You know what I mean?
Well, we're only like 3 hours in, right?
Yeah,
true.
that's why
the Tolkien estate is listening to every word, going,
the humble
they're
part
getting
of
all
me,
this wrong.
The humble part of me didn't put this at the beginning of the episode because I wanted to bury it. So
Humble
No,
brag.
I don't even remember what I was gonna say now. See, this is what these guys do.
Is there humble pie
What
in here?
is going on?
No, I don't think in this menu.
Oh,
Cannot
it was
wait.
it was
I'm
something,
getting more and more hungry, by the way,
it is
just like these
something,
two.
if you would just let me make my point, then we could.
I'm
move
burying it even further. I'm doing you some humble
Somebody
pie, bro.
find the spade. We're burying. So when Sauron, because I'm thinking about the Second Age, right? When he makes the ring, when it's crafted and stuff, like hobbits are so far off of the mind, right? They're so whatever. I feel like it has an easier time controlling men and others and whatever. It wasn't in its making. Its master had no. Like that's a
There's no formula for hobbits.
yeah. There's nothing there like,
the Ents.
It's a
Yeah,
exactly
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the big change makers in the story.
Yeah. So it's odd that like that's the thing that it would need to, because anything else it would have worked on so hard and so quickly we never would have gotten it to Mount Doom. But it's like the Hobbit is the one thing, and it's also you find Gandalf coming across them. This is interesting. There's still so much mystery. Like, what the hobbits come from? Like, you know, who are?
I think
What is
they
a
were
hobbit? I mean,
rabbits.
it's like it's. Yeah.
Did you catch that? Like the
I
big
remember
feet,
seeing
and then
that,
even the
yeah.
trolls. I was like,
Yeah.
it'd be kind of cool to see. This is so off. You guys are both making these great points, and I'm just making a ridiculous point.
About
I would
rabbits.
kind of
Fine.
like to see like a version of the Hobbit
Down a rabbit hole.
or the Lord of the Rings where hobbits are rabbits. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, no, that would be like a fun little, like a kid's
Yeah,
movie
like
or
an
something.
animated
Yeah.
version. Yeah.
Peter Rabbit or whatever was
So-
a really good.
They're hobbits in Bree, right?
Yes, there are.
Okay, so
Yes.
let me ask you a question. Why are hobbits so unknown?
Yeah, especially with Bree being such a hub and
I
a
mean,
travel
I'm
point.
just trying to think about it. I mean, maybe they just think of them as just they're
kids.
just small people or
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
But
They would be small, only children.
I
to
mean,
your eyes.
is there something more? Like is Gandalf cast like some serious words of command to just sort of make hobbits almost disappear? I mean, why would Ents not know that? As long as they've lived, why would
Yeah.
they not?
Well, and I think that it's
Where are
it's-
they in the Second Age? Where are they?
That's
in
the
the
thing.
First
I
Age?
think that if we had to get into the origin of the Hobbit, because I think it is that they do slowly roll out. What was the what's the sub
The fairy wife.
fairy
The
one?
old Took taking
Yeah.
a fairy wife or
That's
whatever. Or
right.
in his
Yeah.
past, there had been a
That's
fairy,
right.
and I think to myself, the way he just so if you look into fairy lore, which I love, right? I'm writing this fairy tale. I've been writing it
Yes.
since high school, and so I have a book that is all about the different fairy lore from, and I don't know it as well
I
as
just
I
want
should.
to say, Lane, because you're a really talented dude, I really want your first book, like a physical copy of your first book.
I don't know, guys. I don't know if anyone outside of my family would find it interesting. I'll let you read it for sure.
No,
I'll let you read it.
I bought
have
a
to.
digital copy of it years ago. When
Oh,
you
he's talking
first
about
released it.
your children. Your
Oh,
kids.
where once there
the
were
line-
lions.
yeah.
You like it?
I thought it was great. I
Thanks,
just
man.
thought that would have been.
Thanks.
I mean, I know it's kind of a little bit more centered towards kids, but
It is, yeah.
you know, I wish that you would have gotten the opportunity at the time to have actually had a a serious like a copy of
Published,
like physical
Maybe
copy.
maybe one of these days. Actually, I'll tell you what.
It's
Having
very open now.
having this phone, man.
Self-publishing is way
it's a
more
big
open
deal.
now.
Oh, yeah,
having this phone has made me like those. I heard you talk about this when the pandemic happened, and you were just like, I have all this time.
I thought you were going to talk about my dream story. I have a very vivid, and I wrote it down, a very vivid story in my head that I dreamed about one night. And
Dude.
it's 3 parts. It's 3 books.
Dude, that is awesome.
Oh, damn.
Oh my gosh.
It'll probably never come to light, but I mean,
You know what
it
though?
was-
I've changed my whole thinking, and as we've talked about this,
Yeah.
I've changed my whole thinking about like sharing stuff and publishing stuff. To me, it's like the creation of the thing should be enough. The creation of the thing is hard enough, and then I think maybe for personalities like me, that like wanting to get a bunch of people to read it or put it out there. For me, it's like I don't know if that appeals to me anymore. Like friends, have friends read it. But you know what I'm saying? Like the creation of it in itself is an achievement, and that's what it's all about. Like it's the struggle to get it out from the imagination or a dream or a plan to something that someone else could actually take in.
Yeah.
But thank you. I appreciate it. That's really nice about the kids book I wrote. I appreciate that. So, but fairy lore, right?
Yeah.
They're sorry, they live in hills, and they're a lot of times they have this ability to be, not noticed and invisible and unseen. They have magical powers, but not really anything like a brownie elf. Okay, our favorite team, Cleveland Browns, right? The brownie elf is a real thing. It's this part of fairy mythology, and they like doing a little bit of work. So if you have a brownie elf that lives by your home or in your home, you leave a little bit for them to tidy up, and they will clean it up. You leave a little gift for them, and they'll continue to clean up, but not anything too fancy. If you give them too fancy, they feel scorned, and then they turn bad on you.
Really?
But anyway, it's just these,
Wow.
it's these invisible forces and beings that are around all the time.
That's pretty cool.
And there's that whole allusion to, like, maybe one of the hobbits long ago, from the Tookish side,
Yep.
took a fairy wife and became kind of magical, and how that's just all silly. But I think, is it really? Or, like, was there something to that? Or,
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, a being out there who's naturally stealthy.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, at will.
Right.
Naturally stealthy.
Naturally stealthy.
Yep.
I just wondered, because it's like, I understand that you're probably not going to get, like, because this age is not like now when I can talk to somebody in Manila or whatever,
Yeah.
like one of our, if I were talking about work.
Yeah.
But still, you would think that the
They
oldest
would have
of the
been-
old would know
Yeah.
that
Talking about
people
Tom?
who
Talking
have
about Tom?
yeah,
Or-
well,
Oh, wow, yeah.
Nance.
Old, yeah.
Nance. And people who visit Bree, which is supposed to be fairly well traveled.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just
Yeah,
It is interesting.
they are a kept secret. It's I actually think what I think happened.
And Gandalf is always hanging out with them. Wouldn't he
Yeah.
bring them up in conversations, and
did
people be like, "Oh yeah."
Did Gandalf create hobbits?
Whoa, hey fella, hey.
Wait, do Maiar have power like that? Can they
Hey.
create beings?
Well, listen. I mean, the
well,
dwarves were. Never mind.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, pulled from the rocks, right?
yeah.
By who? Valar
It
or
was
Maiar?
one of the Valar, I believe. Oh boy. Test me
Well,
now.
dude, Saruman
Yeah.
and the Uruk-hai.
Yes. Oh, lane.
No, this
So
is
Gan-
Dave's idea.
So
Yeah,
Gandalf
yeah.
just wanted a peaceable, fun-loving folk,
He wanted some homies
some homies
who got him, who could smoke some weed with him, who could
That
make him
weren't-
some food,
that didn't have any like evil in them.
That
just
didn't-
love food.
that
and
didn't
hanging
feed into
out.
his ego like Ez likes to do, right?
Yep.
All
yep.
that, man.
Yep.
All that.
Wow.
Dude, that is that might be up there with. I think it surpasses the Tom Bombadil as God theory, because that has been around.
So can we unbury what I said earlier so we can get to what Dave said?
Wow,
Can we
dude,
do like
seriously.
because I mean that's no, you know what I'm saying, like, and not for my purposes, because that's good. That is
no, that's beautiful.
That is really good.
Put that
I mean,
at the front of the episode.
Yeah, like
This
that's
episode of Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Heather Garrett, Dave's theory, and then into that won't be jarring at all.
No, I think it is really really
just
cool
has
because
to be really quick.
I kind of forgot.
It was
yeah.
it had been a while ago, but we were over here and we were talking about, I think, Rise of Skywalker. And in that recording, when we were all not in the room, but Ez was, he recorded this little tiny piece in the beginning
yeah.
of it, and I didn't even think about it. And then I found it. I was like, hey, there's audio here, and then I put that at the very beginning.
Yeah, crap. Yeah, well,
That's
yeah.
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
some
The
of the-
power of editing, right?
Yeah.
The editor.
So
Was
that's-
Gandalf editing the genes of the hobbits?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, to think that the Maiar or that, because it was one of the Vala or of the Valar, right, who created the first 7 dwarves. Yeah, and that was outside of Iluvatar's creation.
No way.
right?
Did Gandalf
So-
turn rabbits into?
Did
I
he?
mean, that's-
I mean, did he? Like, did someone?
all
Did
these
the Blues do it
comparisons.
and they walked away and said, "Hey"?
They went east. They're like,
Well, I'm out, dude. These guys are
I've
gonna,
created something that,
Mic drop.
and that's
Hobbits.
Who they're- dude, that was epic, man.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And
fun.
that's who their cults worship in the east is the hobbits. That's it. Short, hairy beings or hairy feet, I should say. Wow.
It's always seemed
That is
funny
such
to
a
me
cool
that
thought.
they just nobody seemed to know
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah, nobody knows about
Yeah,
it.
their exact origins are unknown. Yeah, unknown.
Play the X-Files music here, or are they?
Wow.
Terrible whistling job.
good.
I need some MRE, I guess.
right,
Oh
all right,
no,
yeah.
that's amazing.
All right, so moving on. Yeah, to end this, let's get to the pity piece, I guess, of the chapter, and then we'll call it for this.
Yeah.
Because basically, we overhear Gollum kind of talking about the way out and what the ring can do. That's how Bilbo starts to kind of realize, like, oh, this thing can turn me invisible. He then, leaps over.
Yeah.
We talked about remember back in the day we used to talk about like the hide and go seek teams. Now I'm just thinking of the high jump Hobbit team, like,
And even
There goes
the
Gollum.
rugby club, like Thorin's rugby club, there's 15 of them.
Yeah. Oh.
What position would they play? And
Yeah. Yeah. There's just I don't
She
know.
lob.
Oh.
Sometimes she catch, and sometimes she
lay,
leap.
Sometimes she lobs.
Yep.
Yeah. So Bilbo, he hops over, and he's running down. So they get to the back door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's gonna hop over Gollum and rush on forward, and it goes down and it goes up, and then
Yeah.
it cuts around a corner. But as he's moving away from Gollum, that's where you hear him yell out, "Thief!"
Do you care if I read that part,
Go ahead.
the pity
Yes.
part?
Yes.
Just because I think it's so, I don't know, it's so good.
Yeah.
He was visible now. Gollum had, I'll go back. Bilbo almost stopped breathing and went stiff himself. He was desperate. He must get away out of this horrible darkness while he had any strength left. Because that's the other thing we got to think about. He's starving. His head's probably still swimming, even though, it's better now, I'm sure, but still, head injury. He must fight. He must stab the foul thing and put its eyes out, kill it. It meant to kill him. No, not a fair fight. He was invisible now. Gollum had no sword. Gollum had not actually threatened to kill him or tried to yet. So, like, instincts right there initially, and then some reasoning, rationality, and then comes pity, right?
Yep.
And he was miserable, alone, and lost. A sudden understanding, a pity mixed with horror welled up in Bilbo's heart, a glimpse of endless unmarked days without light or hope or betterment. Man, hard stone, cold fish, sneaking and whispering. All these thoughts passed in a flash of a second. He trembled. And then, quite suddenly, another flash, he decides, to jump instead.
We have so many. This is what happens when we do this podcast. There's so many levels. There's so many different things. We go from making some, and hopefully people
That might be the most poignant thing that Tolkien has written.
And I was just
in
going
all
to say,
the stories.
We know even within the last so all of us, whether you're managing a team or a classroom or friends or a Facebook group or whatever it might be.
Did he just say he's managing his friends?
Jeez, dude, is that
Well,
us?
Sorry, did I don't know.
Subconscious slipping out.
Wow. There we go.
Like tonight, you mean?
Whoa. Yeah, maybe.
Sorry.
Herding rabbits in here. Oh my gosh. No.
No, cloning or
Yeah.
manipulating,
Wow,
rather.
Yeah. But no, I think we have to remember that there are people in our world and in our lives who things haven't been we all have a different, experience and a different journey. And what's magical about all of those journeys is that they do belong to us. Right? Like yours, but your story is your story, my story is my story, and so on. But then it's interesting. Bilbo is looking at this person and saying, wow, first he sees him as someone I have to get over an obstacle. I could just kill him and just move on.
Yeah.
But no, right?
Yeah.
Think of what's brought him to this point. He's so miserable, and it's put a
and that
it's
that
terrible. It's a
transition from
terrible
the
feeling.
animal instinct to the more humane, and then
Yep.
also that he has, because I think about empathy, right? I can empathize. I know exactly how you're feeling. I've been there myself. He was in that. You're seeing Gollum sitting there crying and stuff. That's how Bilbo starts this chapter.
Yeah.
He's totally miserable. He's alone. He's experienced all the same things that Gollum has, but for a fraction of the amount of time, and that hits him. He's like, "Holy crap!" To imagine feeling like that for hundreds of years, time out of mind, to the point where I don't know that he knows that he was physically changed, but you'd imagine without any betterment or hope or anything, any light,
Yeah.
and that would appeal to, wow, I can't kill this thing.
No. Yeah.
He is me.
Yeah.
How many of the other companions do you think would have made the same choice?
Gandalf.
Would he? Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think he would have maybe smacked him with his staff?
The only reason I say Gandalf is because I think that Gandalf has
At least recognized.
Yeah,
I don't think he
made
would kill him. I mean,
no,
yeah.
no.
Just give him a smack.
But
or
just because of the
something.
way he praises Bilbo for what he does later on. But I think the rest of them, they wouldn't have thought twice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe
Extend it. Other characters from Lord of the Rings. Our
Fellowship
major
even.
Yeah, Fellowship.
Well, I know Aragorn wouldn't have, because he tracked him down and hunted him down in some of that in between time. He and Gandalf worked on him to find out what he knew, right?
Well, but just strictly from that standpoint, knowing nothing else, just the just the character of our heroes, and then that situation.
What would they done if they were Bilbo right there in that moment?
Man, dude, I don't
Without
know.
knowing anything about
What
any
any of the,
backstory.
which ones would have killed him? You think? Is that what you're kind of
Well,
asking?
which ones would have spared him in that moment?
You know, the other thing too, and that to
I don't know that
add a
Sam would've.
dynamic.
I don't know that Sam would have. But how much is Sam driven by his concern for his master?
But
right.
I would also argue, just there's an interesting point playing the game, that how much of a threat is Gollum to Bilbo, big time.
Oh, true.
And
That's a good point. Yeah.
but like Aragorn, he might not be as much.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, let's level the
Even-
play. Let's
even-
just. I know it's
Yeah, yeah. Hypothetical.
you are completely right there.
Yeah.
Even the playing field. If you have to replace Gollum with a giant bear,
Yeah, they're all in the same. They're all in the same.
a
playing
giant
field.
crying bear.
Yeah.
I think Aragorn would have.
choosing pity over
Yeah,
I think he would have saw a miserable creature there. I think
Yeah.
his years would have maybe done that.
I think Aragorn's a wise character. But I don't know about like Gimli and Legolas. Those are like
I don't know about Legolas either.
those are
I know
two
people want to
warriors,
argue.
man.
I know they want to argue Legolas and just the
Legolas
nature of
and his folk do hate the things that crawl in the mountains.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
And although he's not a goblin or an orc,
Right.
Well, and how many of them would to your point? How many of them would even stop and process like he isn't an orc or a goblin?
Yeah.
That he's something different.
Right. True. Yeah.
I would say Gandalf, Aragorn.
Would Boromir?
I love Boromir's my guy, but
Probably not though, right?
I think Boromir's so war hardened that he probably wouldn't even.
haste.
It's just hey, yeah.
It's the
we
question
need
of
this time.
taste and
Just,
getting-
Sure.
makes sense. There's nothing
I don't know
personal about it, but I'm
the
just I gotta
Hobbits,
cut you down and move
the
through.
Hobbits are probably the most interesting to me. It seems like it's more clear with the other races. The Hobbits, I don't know. Frodo, no, because that pity is still there. Like that pity was learned from Bilbo. I guess maybe if he didn't know the story, or he hadn't known Bilbo's decision.
I think it depends on what part of the story when you talk about Merry and Pippin.
Yes, yes. Oh, because we see them coming back to the Shire kicking butt. Yeah, kicking butt.
Yep.
Because
Merry, I think, was always the more confident of them in the very beginning of the story.
Yes.
and then he had a bit of a turn because of his sequence of events. But
yes, and so the other question would be if they didn't, would it be out of pity or out of fear? Because I could see Pippin being kind of scared and not even wanting to have any kind of confrontation. Same with Sam. I think Sam's bravery a lot of times comes from that one thing of I've got to take care of Frodo. I have to do whatever I can.
The selflessness.
Yes, like that just arises out of him because of the ones he loves. So by himself, I don't know. I don't know what he would have done.
Yeah,
That's a great question.
That is really good. Yeah, because the easy answer is to say, well, you like what I was trying to do, which was to say, like, just get out of this by saying Aragorn's, just kick it over.
And I
but
think
it is challenging to say what, looking at the core, what would you do?
But no, I think
Bilbo does have pity on it.
I would have tapped him on the other shoulder so that he turned and then just remember we did that in high school all the time.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about high school, right?
Hey, it wasn't even about pity, Liam. It was just like, or it was more like trickery, and I'm scared of facing this guy.
I would probably
just kidding.
Or I'd start chewing on my own arm and being like, "Ow, ow," and he'd be like, "What the heck?" and just run.
I like to point out how different the hobbits are. How pure and innocent in a lot of ways they are, and how they're not hardened by the world, which then leads them to be able to be the real hero of the Lord of the Rings.
I think also
Clip that, put it to the beginning.
Yeah.
Again.
No, Dave, it's a really good point, because I think the whole thing is like Tolkien is people like to argue this point back and forth, but because they are untouched by the other places of the world
and unknown
and all that stuff makes them, gives them the pureness, gives them the sort of like what they were intended to be. And so that's what makes
And that was Gandalf's plan all along.
from the beginning.
Did it happen in Geonosis? I don't know. Did he take him away
Does
for a
Gandalf
second?
even remember that like he had one night in Bree and that it just all from there? I don't know.
What
Did
have
he-
I done to these rabbits?
What?
Dude,
It was that golden perch.
yeah, dude, it was. He had too much of the perch.
Best ale in the land.
Oh man, Ben, you shouldn't have given it to him. Here's the thing too that I think that's very interesting when you're talking about hobbits, right? That the rest of the world doesn't know about them, but they, in the same way, have kind of that ignorance to the rest of the world. Yeah. Almost like we don't want to know. It's not that we don't know about them. We don't want to know about them. Okay, like we're fine here. There's nothing better than what's going on out right here in the Shire. The rest of it's a bunch of, and to the point of not even believing, like that there are ents that that's the ironic thing, right? And that there are giants, or that there are these great wars happening. They don't even believe it. Mm-hmm. But
Yeah. All right. Any other points you guys want to hit in this chapter?
No, I think that's that ring.
'Cause
slipping
you know
off was
what?
very
Yeah,
interesting.
that's and
I
honestly,
think the most angry I've been, he lost his buttons.
that was to say, like at the end, that was
man.
Yeah,
Busted your buttons.
busted the buttons. Yeah, I mean,
it depends on the coat. Like some of my buttons, I could care less. I couldn't
I've
care
had a
less.
nice shirt that like one of the button was gone, and I was like, what? Where two buttons are gone in the washer?
I broke a button off of my favorite like retro rugby jersey, and I was like, "Dang, dude, you can't just get these buttons anywhere." It's like the old rubber rugby jersey buttons,
You know what? I know we're not.
and
doing,
the button broke. It wasn't like the thread came undone; the button broke.
Yeah.
Not
So
my buttons,
I
my
know we're
gun
not doing, and we're never going to go back to it because
Yeah.
we've established the name of this podcast. It's an unexpected podcast.
Name.
But I do love the idea of like broken buttons, an unexpected podcast, or
Maybe when we lose our minds.
That might be the most obscure reference.
Broken
yeah, the
buttons.
most like
Yeah.
really. This
Button
was a talking
busters.
Tolkien podcast about broken buttons and how they had those.
Could we
had
change
those
the-
buttons have held, we'd have a whole different story.
You're
Very
gonna have
true.
like a bunch of like
Right, I mean,
older people who are trying to like knit or something. Broken buttons.
Oh,
well, that
these
sounds
young-
precisely what I would need for
right.
my cross stitch
Right,
pattern.
right.
These
An
young men are so good.
Right. An
I'm happy with my cross stitching.
Yeah, here we go. An unexpected breaking of buttons. You know, I don't know, something. I'm trying to come.
We could change lost sock into busted buttons. You know,
Wow, now we're taking it.
just got a text from my wife. You
Connotation.
close.
Connotation. All right, we are actually.
Wow.
And so with that, we are out of the reread. Thanks again, Dave. That was a lot of fun. It was really good. And so we do have. I don't know if you guys. Let's see here. Let me scroll on down. We already did Riddles in the Dark. So we wrapped that
was
up.
cool.
Actually.
I like how that was a great idea,
Yeah,
Dave. Just
that's
throw them in there.
And so actually I thought what we would do is, Lane, if you wouldn't mind, it's a story in blue. I have our
Absolutely.
Tolkien story, and then we'll get a quick update just from Dave, but it is not the one that I'm highlighting. I'm going to save that for next week. You guys know how it is. We go extra long sometimes, and so we kind of modify
Can
it
I
around there.
actually
There
give
we
just a shout out
Yes.
to member of community?
Yeah, dude.
For something amazing that I saw.
Absolutely.
Can we
Absolutely.
also point out that Dave? We haven't actually. I don't think we've formally done this. Dave is running the Facebook group, and we want to give him a huge shout out and thank you for that. It's a lot of work. Dave can tell you it's a lot of work, and so
Yes.
we both kind of wanted to get off Facebook and Dave's not a fan of Facebook himself, so for him to be able to do that for us and help us that way, it really does mean a lot. So
That's no problem.
if you're enjoying the group, you have Dave to thank.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
there are a lot of great members in the group keeping that going. So a lot of times it runs very naturally in and of itself. So, but I did want to give just a quick shout out to Rebecca Rovney because she put out a music video lately on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. So I probably should have better prepared and actually got her YouTube page, but.
Go check out Rebecca Rovney on YouTube. You're gonna find her right now.
I'm pretty sure it's like Rebecca Rovney Violin or something like that.
She just her name stands on its own, man. She's
no,
amazing.
it was really good. I mean, I played violin for a while in high school. You played cello,
Yep.
Ez played viola.
Come on
right.
now. So
That's
they
right.
Ez played viola.
I
Let's
mean,
just-
You were kind of in the middle of
Viola,
you know.
everything. I mean,
it's the lesser violin.
oh my, here we go.
what
Here
would
we
Mr.
go.
Lawson say? What would he have said?
Well,
about
what he would have said is,
I don't
Ez,
remember.
stop talking over there. And then Ez would have been, it's them, and pointing to me. It's them over there.
And it actually specifically was David.
Dude, you know what's kind of funny is
I
kind of you're jarring some memories because cellos were all very quiet. I don't know if you remember this. We were just kind of like, I didn't know what the crap I was doing because I never paid attention. But I remember there being a lot of ruckus. I remember Ez pointing. And I remember Dave laughing. Dave had long hair, man.
Mate.
Remember the band room we went into at middle school? The band room, like on Fridays? Didn't we have like after school Friday practice?
Yes.
I hated that stuff.
Can I tell you guys real quickly, the first time I didn't even know what it meant. You guys had to explain to me what it meant when someone gave me the middle finger. And it was an orchestra.
Was I involved in that?
I don't know if you were or not, but I remember like it was like
Someone educated you on.
a girl who was in 6th grade and I was in 8th grade.
Wow,
and had
that's
no one told me
embarrassing.
Hey, I made it a long way in life before.
And then
somebody
your
gave me
friends
the middle
taught you
finger.
who Michael Jackson was.
And I
And
had
your
to
dad
learn a
laughed
lot.
at you.
And I'm like, wait a second,
I
this
love
was
that story.
someone in my section. Okay, Dave's probably racking his brain, going, "Who was that?" Who?
Yeah, it was a small section, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like 4
yeah.
people.
Yeah,
5,
because it
6.
was those Friday sessions that we had in the middle school where we stayed. We went to the band room with everybody, and we were in there together. It's
hilarious.
Shout out to our friend Tiffany, who was also in that orchestra with us as well. Played the French horn.
French horn.
Yep.
God, for some reason I was
Tiffany
thinking
from
trumpet.
Swish and
but-
Flick.
Yeah,
Band
there you
played
go.
Did
with
play
us?
trumpet too, though. I think.
Hold on, wait.
Okay.
Band played with us?
Yeah, Lane doesn't
Well,
remember much of orchestra.
Wasn't Tom Grosclose involved too? What did he play?
His sister was, but then Tom was for 4th grade and 5th
Yeah.
grade or something.
Okay,
like that.
so he was out by the time.
He was
I
out
would've-
by 6th. He was
It
out
was
by
Emily,
6th.
right? His sister
Yeah.
Emily. What was her
Katie,
name?
Katie.
Katie. Emily's his
Yes.
wife, right?
Yes.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hello.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Tom.
But no, yeah, orchestra was a good time. I mean, like, and honestly, the one time. So you remember this, Dave? And my farmer maggot, right, was Mr. Lawson.
Mine too.
And I talked about it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved
Yeah.
that he was someone who I really looked up to, and his death, dude. He died just before my mom passed away, and I remember going like, I knew she was sick, and I went to his funeral, and I was like, wow,
Well,
he really made an impact on me, man.
My nephew actually got a scholarship for his. This is really bad because I'm pretty sure it was for clarinet. To the NAS, so he's going to the NAS. But during one of his concerts out at that whatever that church was that we played at sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Lake
Yeah.
Where
Lake
was it?
Holm. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
there you go. So he was doing some concert out there, and we went to see him. And I actually saw Mr. And this was a few years before he passed away. But I met him in the hallway.
Yeah.
And he was all like clean shaven and all this stuff,
Yeah.
and we talked for a little while, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Actually, after he retired was when I left. Well, I put in one more year and then I left because I
Really?
couldn't stand the replacement, and I won't name who that is.
Oh my gosh, you guys are ridiculous.
I couldn't do it. I know
I-
that the fun for me was gone after he
my
left.
I
gosh.
don't remember who that was because I stopped
Well, we're
after
not-
high school.
Well,
I
mean,
Okay, well, off air.
I'll
We'll
say
do it off air
this.
because
I
I'm sure they're
love-
listening, right?
Yeah, well,
I-
maybe.
I might
actually, at Paragraphs there may be. I mean, honestly, shout out to our old teachers and librarians. there.
you want
So,
to know
yeah.
why
In the Max.
the problem was with me?
Yeah.
Is because I was lazy.
You're darn right.
Oh,
you
well, I
were.
was- listen,
You're
I
darn
was just-
right, and you
no,
didn't do your
I wa-
tapes.
I know I
you,
did.
You,
No,
forged you
hold-
forged your
I was
practice sheets
worse.
just
I
like
forged
I
pack-
did.
No, I did the tapes, but I did them last minute.
Oh, I did too.
That was the thing. I just I
no.
wanted music to flow more freely.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't into that regimented orchestra.
I know
type
it.
thing, so.
It did shift. I forgot that you did. That you weren't there that final year.
I didn't appreciate.
I couldn't do it.
I didn't appreciate Mr. Lawson like the way I
Yeah.
definitely should have. That was why he was my farmer maggot. It was because I feel like I didn't like being in orchestra.
Yeah.
My parents said I had to play an instrument, and I tested. I did well on the musical test in elementary that says you could play in. Remember that
yeah.
there was like an entry
Yes.
test for
I
orchestra.
forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, whatever. And they were like, what should I? My parents were like, what do you want to play? I was like, I don't know, with that thing, the cello. And so I never really got. And then I remember the biggest thing. Man, it's like I honestly I feel really bad because I feel like I actually did disappoint Mr. Lawson because there weren't many
I
cellos. There weren't many cellos.
Yeah.
And like they always needed more cellos. It was like, hey, you want to play cello? Nah, I got to lug that thing around. No, nobody wanted to. And so it was 8th grade, and we were supposed to go play for the high school graduation.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was like, I was like, surely this is optional. I'm not going to do that. And I didn't show up.
And who
Mr.
did?
Lawson, yeah, I'm sure you guys did.
We were there, I hear.
And talk about not trying. And Mr. Lawson, I remember the next time he was like, I'm so disappointed.
I remember that. Yeah.
I cannot believe that you didn't show up. And I was like, whatever, dude. And I was like, screw this.
Yeah.
It was my attitude.
Yeah.
And then I quit and I never played again. But I remember seeing him years later at when they were running the Mount Vernon Inn. Mm-hmm. It was for my high school graduation, actually. And my grandpa, I guess, was staying there while he was in town, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing because I was nervous. I was like, man, he's going to remember that I was kind of a brat. He's like, none of that.
I know.
None of that. He treated me with such kindness. And like the thing I love about him that I kind of can relate on like a teacher level is Mr. Lawson was that teacher who he would get lost in being a kid. He would get everyone wound up, and then he'd be like, oh, dang it, I got to bring everybody back in. And then he would get that grumpy teacher side back. And sometimes we were too far gone, and it made him more frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I know exactly how that feels as a teacher.
I do it.
Yeah, I do it too.
Yeah.
Because it's the fun. And even my girls, like I will get them wound up, and then we'll do something stupid, break something, or someone will get hurt. I'm like, oh, geez. Okay, guys, we have to, we got to listen. But, yeah, I mean, the thing that I remember about him the most was that interaction when I was, 5 or 6 years older, and he was nothing but kind. So
isn't it interesting though? So the three of us sitting here, like, and I kind of, it all starts to blur together when you think back about our lives and like going back to like elementary school into middle school. But like orchestra was like a core piece of it for a long time.
It was. I remember going to the concerts and Ez's big boat he had at the time, stuffing 15 different instruments in the back of there, and
totally got yelled
on
at.
top
I totally got
of
yelled at by Mrs. Lawson, and then like it was junior year. I got chewed out, and rightfully so, because I totally broke the rules and I didn't get on the bus like we were supposed to, and I drove. And then the next year she was kind of like, you can go. She told me I could just drive over to this thing without permission slips. And I was like, oh, it's awesome. She was the best.
But the field trip, right? When we went to the Columbus Symphony Orchestra, is that what you're talking about? And then we went to that music shop afterwards. Do you remember that?
I remember
the
that,
sheet music shop.
Sheet music, yes. That was awesome. Man. Those were good experiences, and that was a lot. It was a lot of fun. I also did not, and I told Mrs. Lawson this. I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have.
No.
And when something like
I almost feel like it's the wrong time of life to appreciate orchestra.
But that's how it is though, because like I think at those ages you try. At least I know for me, I was definitely attempting to, be cooler than I probably was. I played, around that same time, I was also picking up guitar too.
Yes.
I was much more interested in guitar than I ever was in violin. Yeah. And I mean, it's just, I think that's just part of growing up.
And for that reason, I honestly wish it's like something that I would have had to have done later. Yeah. Like maybe starting in high school or starting in college. You know what I mean? Because then I think I would have. I got a cello sitting out the garage that never gets used. You know what I mean? And it's like one of those things. What a beautiful thing we learned to do. That's probably only becoming more and more rare. Yeah.
And one last thing before we move on with this, because you said something like when you saw, and you said this as well, when you met, and even for me, Mr. and Mrs. Lawson and his daughter, who was with us and who was in orchestra. Yeah. Like when I met them years later, or whenever I would see them, just randomly. He always treated, even though I was a rascal, and that day Dave was talking about, I yelled back. I had never yelled at a teacher in my life, and I yelled at Mr. Lawson, and it actually broke my heart that I did that. Yeah. And I was like, I went up to him afterwards, and I had my head down, and I apologized. The next day, it was like nothing happened.
Yeah, he was a very forgiving.
And my rule as a teacher, when I assign detentions and things like that, I'm like, every day I make an effort to do exactly what he did for me, because I wouldn't have felt comfortable going into that room. I had really yelled at him, and he was furious at me, and I was like, but he always made me feel. And again, I mean, also I was Captain Kirk, so let's,
you had brownie points.
No, I'm kidding, but I mean, it was so much. I don't know. He's such a good. It's just good to remember that when you're talking and working with people, right?
And it's it's interesting looking back on that, because, like I said, I was definitely an instigator because again I was bored. I mean, I could play. I actually was able to play pretty naturally. Yeah. But if I would have actually applied myself, I would have been much better.
Yes.
You would have been like Clint Ingersoll.
I highly doubt that. But I mean, my whole thing is because I was bored. I would just mess with people around me, and then subsequently Ez and the other. So
I'm 2 sections away.
And the worst part about growing up too is that I had zero recollection of that being a major part of somebody's life when you yelled at him and how you felt about that.
Yeah,
I would have had zero cognizance of understanding.
But you remember that, right?
I remember it, but there would have been, from my standpoint, because of how I was at the time, zero emotional connection to it. Now I look back, it's like, well, Jesus, what a jerk off I was.
And you know what's crazy is I was more disappointed in myself, but I did remember saying later, I will never let those guys do that to me again, because they should have been yelled at. Not me.
We should have.
You should have.
We should have.
Flat out stand by it. I don't know for a fact.
Oh yeah, we definitely should.
I mean, I also never brought that up to Mr. Lawson again, but if he would have brought it up to me, I would have said, like, sir, it was my mistake for yelling at you, but I want you to know, I want to go on record saying it was those guys.
It was them.
I promise you.
And he would have said, well, you shouldn't have.
And he would have been like, you know what?
Never be the second man.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, all right. But so that was fun. A little trip down memory lane.
Memory lane. Hey, I'm gonna trademark that.
Oh, there we go.
So original, Lane. That is good to remember. I mean, I can relate to what Dave's saying in terms of like, what a jerk. Like, what a jerk to not appreciate it. What a jerk not to even at least feign trying a little bit more. And then also so I didn't yell at Mr. Lawson, but I had just kind of a screw this attitude.
Yeah.
And I could tell that it hurt him as well, because he invested so much in, and we were always competing with band. Like band, everyone joined and everyone played in band, and orchestra was a smaller, clickier thing that, it felt more like, I don't know, family, but it kind of did. I mean, it's like we would see each other all the time in those practices on Friday, and then the rehearsals, we're all dressed up in tuxedos.
Absolutely.
And the concerts. Yeah,
at least the majority of us, we hung out. I mean,
true.
You left, so you probably would have hung out more.
Yeah, I was.
Well, but I do remember,
I was reading my Bible in high school.
Yeah, you were. But I do remember those. I remember, like, it was cool because we got to go in with 7th and 6th grade because we were the 8th graders, and then for 2 years, like, it was like really awesome, and it was just neat to kind of. It's weird for me to think back on saying that was like the thing that I remember us having the earliest thing that I can think of that the three of us kind of had in common, and we were around. So it's just it's crazy.
Now look at us, bunch of old farts,
old men podcasting. All right. Well, we've got speaking of a history here, the podcast, and the future. We have Chris Carney writing into us for our Tolkien story this week. Hi, Ez and Lane. Here we are at the end of all things. I've just finished listening to The Grey Havens and think it's about time I finally sent something into the Bywater Post. I want to thank you for putting together such a great podcast and being the foundation of such a great community. In a time of intense polarization of basically everything in the public sphere, it's so refreshing to have a diverse group of great people united by a common love. Isn't that something? Yeah, uppers are amazing. A history. My own Tolkien story started when my dad and his love of Tolkien's works. I think I was about 9 or 10 when my parents gave me a copy of The Hobbit, which came with a map of the Shire and of Middle-earth, with Bilbo's long journey marked out on it. To this day, I remember reading those magical first couple of lines from The Hobbit for the first time, and I get that same feeling of childish glee every time I read them again, some 20 years on. My teacher at the time loved Tolkien, and she encouraged me to pick up Loader. Thankfully, nestled in amongst my parents' horde of rotting paperbacks was a beaten-up, decades-old, even then, copy. The 3 books all together in one daunting, dusty temple of literature. Chris is an excellent writer.
Good.
This is great. Intimidated but undeterred, my much younger self went straight from The Hobbit into The Fellowship. I remember the first feeling I had being one of betrayal. There you go. I had expected to hear more about Bilbo, but instead had to settle for some doofus called Frodo. Thankfully, I came round eventually. Reading on, I enjoyed the story, but did struggle with it, skipping the songs and getting confused by the Gollum-Smeagol relationship. Soon after finishing Lord of the Rings for the first time, I saw the first trailer for the Fellowship movie and couldn't believe my luck. What followed was the standard agonizing wait between films, devouring the bonus material on one DVD by the time the movie came out. With a better understanding of Middle-earth and those within it, the movies really kicked me into action, and I reread Lord of the Rings. Since then, I've read it through maybe 5 or 6 times, along with the Silmarillion a couple of times, and each time I spot something new, I get that little buzz of discovery. Man, it's addicting, isn't it? And you can always find something new. Like a number of others here, Tolkien's work has accompanied me. Sorry. It must be the blue font. I'm not used to seeing that blue.
I can change it.
Woo! No, it's cool. I don't know what's going on.
Quick, change it to yellow.
Yeah. Something. Like a number of others here, Tolkien's work has accompanied me through good times and bad and helped me see that even in dark places, there is always a light there somewhere, even if only inside of you. Yeah, that was something, and that was another something, right?
Yeah.
The podcast. For my day job, I'm a scientist. Man, another smart person.
I'm telling you what's going on.
This is 2 in a row. This is too much pressure. Doing a mix of cell biology and biochemistry. Sure, I don't even know what those are.
Well, hey, that kind of fits in with today's discussion, doesn't it? Gandalf and the old hobbits. Maybe.
Wow,
Chris
I'm so
knows,
stupid. I had to.
Chris knows something
You
we
had to
don't
walk
know.
me through that one.
Yeah.
Working in an academic research setting, yeah, me too. This involves many, many hours of work you could get a robot to do. Thankfully, such robots are more expensive than people for now. So I have the opportunity to spend a lot of time listening to podcasts. I've listened to a bunch of things from the Tolkien Professor and another Lord of the Rings podcast, pre-up, so don't feel betrayed. We don't. No. And this has been by far the most fun and engaging. Wow. I've gained so much from listening to your own journey through this. I've shared tears with you over Arwen and at times some of the Bywater Post stories. Beyond the community aspect of the podcast, I've loved the insights you guys have brought. Despite having read Lord of the Rings a bunch of times before I started listening, I feel like this most recent journey has been the most enlightening yet. Dude, I feel the same way because I feel like just these conversations we have with Dave, conversations we have with each other, the stuff we see in the group and in the Instagram, and just even like getting into thinking of it in a different time of life too. It just it's crazy. It's crazy how it all sharpens each other. As an atheist, I've always connected with the spiritual and philosophical side of Tolkien's work from the side of balance and naturalism. But something I've really enjoyed has been hearing your interpretations of some things informed by your faith and understanding of both Christianity and Catholicism. Man, I love when people with different beliefs, different views can come together and appreciate each other's perspectives.
Yeah.
Chris, that is beautiful, man. Given Tolkien's own Catholicism, I found a whole new side to reading Lord of the Rings, which I had never would have come close to touching in its entirety thanks to you. And now I'm thinking of what those words he used, balance and naturalism. You could totally get just like the same quantity of wealth and knowledge and perspective from reading these stories from that point of view as well, and how different but similar and it would be. That's incredible. I can't wait to see what happens to my understanding of the Silmarillion once I've been through it with the two of you and the amazing book club you've started. The future. The road goes ever on, and I feel privileged to share this road with you all. I can't wait to hear about your trip to Scotland. Yeah, well, here it is.
When it does happen.
It's happening tonight, baby, in a pipe.
When it does happen, yes.
Gosh, hopefully in the not too distant future. My dad's from Edinburgh.
Wow.
And I've spent many weeks of my life exploring the wild places of that amazing country. So I'm certain you'll have a blast. Lane, I'm wishing you, Goldberry, and the girls all the joy in the world with the imminent arrival of crotch fruit number 3. Chris, I think we're working on crotch fruit number 4 tonight. If any of you find yourselves in or around Cambridge, give me a shout, and the beer's on me. Chris, we're coming for you, man.
Yeah. Honestly,
as soon as we can travel and have the finances to travel to the UK, that's like a pilgrimage we got to take. Yeah.
No, it is.
We got to go to
100%.
the Eagle and Child.
Yes.
We got to go see Chris. We got to go see our other friends in the UK. So, and the beer's on us, my friend. The beer is on us. We'll cover you. Yeah. And much more. All the best, Chris Carney. P.S. I do feel obliged to apologize for the length I love how that's become a running joke.
I know.
Like apologizing for the length of
Right.
the story. Man, that was beautiful.
Because the one time somebody doesn't mention it, Lane's going to say, you know what? That person should have apologized.
how dare you not
Also,
apologize
Chris,
for how
could you
long that
apologize for the
was.
way that you spelled apologize, please? Because I'm telling you right now.
It's the British way.
I know it is.
Okay, all right. I do that on purpose.
You do?
I think a lot of times I will spell color.
Yeah. Just with that other
with the U.
with
I
the U?
like
Yeah.
I like the British
Color.
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 I like the British spelling of things much better.
Is it
softer?
How do you spell gray?
GR?
I favor the EY, not the AY.
Oh, really?
Isn't that weird?
See, I usually tend to go AY for
Because you're a
whatever
Buckeyes
reason.
fan. Because you're a Buckeye fan. That's what it is.
I mean,
Scarlet and
I went to
gray.
Ohio State. I really don't care much about college football. I'm a professional football guy.
Amen.
Wow,
Let's
wow,
get
wow,
that
wow,
on a
wow.
shirt, baby.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I just want to know, is it aluminium or is it aluminum? Which one is it?
Is it Element 151?
Pro.
Don't mention
Don't say
it.
that. Don't say that.
Chris,
All
that
right.
was beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Wonderful story. Praise much too highly heaped upon us. But thank you for being a part of our community, our fellowship, and sharing your story. That was to think of. I love thinking of. Oh gosh, I can't remember her name. We have. Oh my gosh, what's her name, man? The young lady or woman who listens to Further Up, who is a Muslim, and she talks about her
my gosh,
interactions
yes.
with the world of Narnia from that perspective.
Yes.
I think she's written a Tolkien.
I think she has.
Gosh dang it!
I actually may. Yeah.
I can't remember anyone's name at this point. I can't remember.
Someone please send us a message because I know for
But I always love hearing her comments. I loved hearing her story. It's just different perspectives are so refreshing. I don't know.
Well, and it's
Because we know ours. We know our perspective. I
Yeah,
like
we
hearing
do,
other
and that's why
people's
we bring
perspective.
people. That's why we
Yep.
bring different perspectives on,
Yep.
and we, this story, this Middle Earth, right, brings people from all walks of life together, and
Yeah.
it's fantastic,
Yeah.
and you can connect with it,
awesome.
and it's great.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks again, Chris.
We did Riddles in the Dark. It was wonderful. Before we share the load, Dave, go on and on about all the places people can go get more Dave Fogle. Just a warning for this.
Be careful, friends.
If you find yourself, like me, at 12:30 in the morning, watching Dave consume MREs, I warned you. It can happen. Doing his magic spoon flip of hot sauce onto his tongue. I warned you. He's good. It's addicting.
It is
You
addicting.
will get addicted.
It is actually.
You'll want
'cause-
to eat one yourself. Like, I didn't even know these were a thing until a year ago.
Me neither.
And I'm
yeah.
about to eat one, and I can't. Like, literally, as soon as these mics go off, if you want to film me, you can. I'm popping this thing open. I'm eating it.
It's funny. People usually only find these one of two ways: either they served in the military,
Yeah.
or backpacking. And that's how I discovered them. Just trying to figure out better food.
How
It's
to
like,
bring food with you. Yeah.
how do I bring a steak with me? That doesn't seem to logistically work out on a long packing trip. So
got to take this cooler with me and make ice.
I've seen people do some wacky stuff
Really?
to try and bring fresh food.
Does
out.
anyone take like dry ice with them or anything like that?
No,
Or
I've never personally seen that, but I know that there are a couple of people.
I only hike in the winter so my steak stays cold.
Well, you could do that too.
Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh. Oh
there
my
you go.
Or just jerky. Just take jerky.
I mean, it depends on what side of the fence you fall on. Like with me, with not having young.
I don't like to
knees.
fall on any part of the fence.
Well, I hope you don't. But anyway,
Well, especially straight down. That's
yeah, that's true.
never good.
No, it's just knees and back don't always work the way you want them to after
Sure.
you get. So I try and pack as lightly as I can.
Smart, isn't it?
So, I mean, there are definitely ways if you wanted to take weight penalties on stuff to get things out there. I've seen people legitimately just put a cooler on the back of their pack, strap
wild,
it on, and
man.
away you go.
That's the Samwise method right there.
Yeah.
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 So where can people get more of you? Where can they find you?
Dave's 45 Auto on YouTube.
Yep.
Contingency Plan Podcast, about anywhere you can get podcasts. I
Yep.
think I'm still on Twitter for some reason at TC Plan Podcast. guess I Instagram now very, very rarely.
Yeah.
I don't remember what my handle is for that. I think it's just my name.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it
it's
is.
just my name in 24.
That's unreal.
I think it is,
You
actually.
talk about getting off the grid. I mean, Dave is like almost there.
I know. He's the dream,
just-
man. I'm moving that direction.
I never really cared about oversharing my life, but I mainly just share guitar pedals on there. So.
Hey, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it, bro. That's the way to do it.
But yeah, I mean that's I think that's about it for now. Just those two.
You're not going to mention your top secret project that's coming out soon?
Oh
or-
well, I mean, top secret project is still a little ways away because
Okay.
I gotta have a name. I gotta have a name for it. But
Well-
it is literary. It is surrounding a book series that is very long and that I like, but not everybody even knows that it exists, which makes me very sad.
Got a name for you. Literally literary.
Shame.
And it's kind of like a riddle.
The interesting thing about that is there is a companion novel to this particular series because of the wording in the books. The guy
So it works.
he literally put
So
his own dictionary for the wording of the book because it's so very specific.
How do I fall bass backwards into these things, man?
I have
just gave him a name.
don't
was
no
good.
idea.
Nah, it wasn't that good. But Dave is the man. Generous, kind, thoughtful, a great friend. So it's been an honor to have you, my friend. How can people share the load?
Well,
Just by hanging in there, right?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Well, by hanging in there for a 3-hour episode. Yeah, absolutely. No, you can share the load. Check out. We're gonna have a Zoom hangout soon. We may have something coming up very soon at Paragraph Bookstore.
Yeah,
we got to
it's
check
gonna
into that.
depend
Just
on
depending
what the
on
governor
yeah.
says, right? Yep.
So that would be
planned as of right now.
It's
though.
planned, yeah. But we'll figure that out soon.
Yep.
So we over the holiday there may do a Zoom hangout, and that's for some of our patrons. Hey, we gotta get Dave in on that. You know, Dave's got
that'd
to
be awesome.
be there. I mean,
That'd be
you know,
awesome.
Yeah, just so we can chat it up. Bring a beverage. We hang out. You can bring your pipe weed if you want to. Todd, we always check at Todd's poster array, right?
Todd's
theater.
Todd's attic theater is
you guys-
enviable at the least.
You got to come check it. It's awesome.
God, like,
It's
can
a
you
lot
do
of
it to
fun.
any poster? Can you backlight any poster, or is that to be
I
a special kind of poster?
Don't know how he does it, but I'm jelly.
It's like a movie theater. Like he had.
It's so cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So come check that out. Also, we're going to have some more exclusive content podcast-wise over on Patreon. You can check that out there. Also, just like all the social medias. Helps us out a lot. If you haven't had a chance to go over to the YouTube and you're sitting there going, I have no reason to go do that, you do now because Ez is going, I'm just going to say this, I think the clip art looks pretty good over there. and I want you to
just
go check it out.
Go look at the thumbnails. They're beautiful.
Just go tell me that just they're just images from the films. They're just other artists.
Do you think
and
if you
stuff.
wouldn't
I
have
just
said that
like
was
doing it.
you, do you think I would have gotten credit for that?
I don't know. Maybe.
I like to think I would have.
By the
How's
way-
that burying a compliment for you?
Shout out to Joe Lewis who just sent me a message. So what's up,
Aw,
Joe?
where
Yeah.
the heck's my message?
I mean, I don't know. I get them randomly.
I don't
from time
get
to
text
time, so-
messages on this.
Yeah, always got a new phone. Anyway, so that's it, folks.
Folks?
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Wow.
We want to thank you for not getting too stumped with these riddles. Well, look at that flippy, flappy creature back there. Wow, her eyes are definitely
guys gotta-
lanterns, and
you
I'm
guys
getting
gotta check out the
sucked
video.
in. No, thank you for getting in the dark with us and doing some riddles.
Jeez. Wow.
Next time, we're going to be getting out of the frying pan and in the fryer in chapter 6. Yeah, that's it. And just not the pyre this time. That's in a later book. Thank the Lord.
Thank the Denethor Lord.
And then it's your line.
That's my line. So, friends, again, thanks again to Dave. Thanks for hanging in here this whole time. Go check out all of his stuff. If you like our podcast,
Didn't thank me for being here.
Well,
It's because it's my house.
I'd like to thank Lane.
No, I don't want you to patronize me.
Okay.
It's bullcrap.
All right, and to the rabbits, if you like our podcast, don't forget
The genetically modified rabbits. GMR.
Oh my gosh! If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a shadow fax.
We'll see you in a fortnight. And remember, Dave.
Bilbo knows.